Guys, I saw the funniest thing in offline chat the other day. I glanced at it. Accidentally, I was hitting Alt Tab because I wanted to close the video essay I was listening to in the other tab, which was, by the way, like a ranking of all the Dark Souls 2 bosses, its autism, whatever. And I happened to see offline chat, which was a mistake, you know, to look at it. And I saw some guy, you're not gonna believe it. He was like, didn't Vosh say he was gonna stream today? Imagine still falling for it. Imagine still falling for it. Can you believe? Can you believe? Imagine. Oh my God! Every it gets funnier every time. It's so good. Yeah, imagine believing a live streamer. You people take political advice from me. You listen to me. My word means something to you. I'm sorry. My sleep schedule's been absolute dog water. I'm 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 losing it. Oh man. Where the fuck is my cup? Hold on. My love, could I have a coffee? It'll soothe my ailing mind. Here. Thank you. Love you. All right. What was I saying? Yeah, I played like 14 hours of Hades 2 the other day. Is it easier or am I just better? I think I'm just better. I think it's harder than Hades 2. I think I'm just better at games now than I was then. You know what the secret is? Never take the Olympian boons. Never try to tell the game what to give you, okay? Just allow yourself to be an ant on a log drifting down the current of the river, okay? And work with whatever you get. Don't try to force a build. Just let it happen. You have to be the leaf. The hat's staying on, by the way. You can probably tell from the hair peeking out down here, but we have not, in fact, been to the barber. Why? Because he does not have Hades 2 installed on his little card reader that he presents you at the end. Otherwise, I would be, you know. Where'd you get that hat? There's a secret hidden answer to that question on the hat if you can find it. Okay. Fucking cut your own hair at this point? Yeah, it's pretty tough. It's pretty difficult. It's tough. It's tough. Cutting your own hair is really, really tough. I think there are cross saves so you can keep playing the Switch. I'm on the PC. Anyway, how are we doing? You'll be getting denim socks next. I did actually recently make a big purchase. Like I said, for the past couple of months, I've basically not bought clothing. There was one purchase I got for Imogene and Willie that was like the one thing that I've made since moving. I did make a purchase the other day, though. I'm not going to show you guys what it was because I need to like check it out myself and make sure that it fits me properly because it hasn't arrived yet. I ordered it. And you can all rightly make fun of me once it arrives. So you can do that once it arrives. Beans and rice for thee, salvage denim for me. If you guys knew how I ate, if you could see the meals that I ate every day, you would understand that this is not a rules for thee, not for me kind of situation, okay? I guarantee you that I eat, like, of my own volition, cheaper food than you do, all right? I don't need to be subjected to public scrutiny. I don't need you guys, I don't need to be uploading every picture of my food to Instagram, okay? I know you eat like shit and you should. I didn't say I ate like shit! I said I ate for cheap. Rice and tuna. Lately it's been tuna, not beans. Fucking 52 fucking grams of protein per 210 calorie solid white tuna with water, no olive oil because that shit's calories. Okay? Incredible. What are you, a cat? I mean, I live with them. You look like Chuck Schumer with the glasses. There, are you happy? Whenever I do that, you know that one React image that racists on Twitter use, which is like the anime girl with the blonde hair and the very blue eyes, and the text is usually like me ordering like pork roast, pig rinds, and pig ears to and getting the Muslim cashier to ring it up at the 7-Eleven or something like that. That's how I feel when I'm yeah, I'm not blonde, but I feel like I'm conveying the same energy. I do have fairly blue eyes. Blue green. They're not like crazy blue. You know that phrenology chart? Not phrenology, physiognomy chart, where it's like, here's your ranking in the human hierarchy based on your eye color. And if you have piercing ice blue eyes, it's like you are a philosopher king. And then if you have like black eyes, like very dark brown eyes, it's like your job is to eat poop that you find on the street or something. I'm not saying I believe in it. I'm just saying that if I did have piercing ice blue eyes, I would pretend to believe in it for fun. You not wearing glasses is triggering everyone's fight or flight. uh, it wouldn't be a Vosh stream without race science. Would you all believe me if I told you that I genuinely thought that anti-racists would be more effective at their job of being anti-racist if they knew more about race science? I feel like a lot of the debate around racism and race science or race realism today is kind of like based in people's belief that this is a contemporary phenomenon, or at the very least, like they act as though it is. But if you learn even a little bit about what race science used to look like, it's fucking impossible to take seriously. You can't even take modern racism seriously, like not even a little bit. Yeah, like learn the rules so you can break them easier type shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because then you learn about how like, well, actually, the original fucking Anglo-Saxons in America thought that the Germanics and the Finns and the Swedes and stuff were too swarthy, and then there was there was a post on Twitter about it just the other day about how Swedish people were called like blank N-words, like snow N-words or something like that, and there's this one guy in Minnesota writing in a diary just 100 years ago, by the way, just 100, not 250, just 100 years ago, about how they were like a shambling mess of stinky fake humans or whatever, because he was in like a mining troupe with a bunch of Swedes, and it's like, what the fuck? This shit is so stupid. It's crazy. Anytime any guy doesn't like another guy, they're like writing in their journal about how the phrenology of a skull betrays this inferior lineage. And it's like they're doing this with their neighbors. This explains the Balkans, frankly. You take a look at like you take a look at everyone from fucking like Austria over to the Caucasus, and like every ethnic group on the way has a personal theory about why their ancestors were demigods who ruled the plains/mountains with an iron fist, and every other race near them was like a pitiable slave race that rose up and was liberated from subhumanity by, I don't know, Soviet education or something. Like they all have the same myth. You get me. Type shit. This one? Oh, you found it. Okay, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. It's so good. I'm hitting the button that normally makes the screen switch over to desktop. Why is it not doing that? Oh, well, that worked. Oh, my keyboard disconnected. There we go. The exclusion of Swedes from a whiteness centered on Anglo-Saxons was also common among everyday Americans. Minnesota lumberjack Horace Glenn, for example, describes Swedes thusly in a 1901 letter to his parents. 9/10 of the men are roundheads and the most disgusting, dirty, lousy reprobates that I ever saw. There are probably 15 white men here to 60 Swedes, and those 15 keep them so they don't dare to say their soul is their own. It is only evenings that I am forced to associate with these beasts they call Swedes that I get depressed. Walking behind a string of Swedes is something impossible to a person with a delicate nose. It is an odor which could only come from generations of unwashed ancestors, and no man could hope to acquire it in one lifetime without the aid of heredity. I say this all the time. Yeah, me in Barcelona when I'm behind like a pack of Germans on vacation. This is just true. Also, impressive degree of literacy from a Minnesota lumberjack, right? Like just a little bit of like depression fuel that nobody today could write with this degree of clarity. Basically, like no, like the average lumberjack alone, like the average fucking college student, probably. Racism makes you good at writing. Yeah, we learned that from Lovecraft. This is why founders wanted public education for learned racist letters. Unironically, yeah, basically. Everyone on Earth was just fighting to produce the most like race science learned population. I'm being real though. Like learning a little bit about the history of racism and race science makes the whole thing so ridiculous you can't take it seriously at all. That's why I make so many fucking race science jokes on stream, because once you learn anything about it, it is literally the funniest topic in the world. The Disco Elysium writers understood this when they wrote Measurehead. Like this isn't like some grave modern blight. This is a literally as old as humanity blight, and it's always been incredibly fucking stupid, you know? Like it's one of I can't take it too seriously when white racists are talking about black culture or like pull your pants up or fucking rapists and murderers and thieves from Mexico or whatever, because it's like, dude, it's the same. You will never be funnier than your ancestors. You know, you will never be funnier than the those which came before you. It's why Blazing Saddles is still funny as shit. My litmus test for whether or not you should be allowed to talk to people who are conservative is whether or not you think Blazing Saddles is funny. If you can't appreciate it, I don't think you have the mental fortitude. You don't have the constitution required to have conversations with people who disagree with you, because that's like the low bar right there, you know? Spaceballs? Well, Spaceballs is a lot less funny. Old racism was more whimsical and cartoonish. Well, it probably didn't feel that way to like the people getting lynched. Nowadays, it's just people pretending they're not racist. I will concede that point. I do think that racism has gotten a lot less funny, not in the reduction of its severity, but rather in the fact that nowadays everyone's pretending that they're not racist, which makes it less funny. Like they're not owning up to it, basically. Like modern day racists are so buried in dog whistle and obfuscation and dishonesty that they don't even say the same funny stuff that they used to. And that's a problem. They should be funnier. Can you imagine if we were reading like Substack posts from people writing like this, except it was about fuck, I don't know, like Nicaraguans in a Florida town or something. I don't know. Like I feel like there's so much room for whimsy out there. Um, I don't think Swedes were banned from some restaurants, but Finns were. But that's the thing. Nowadays, no American could tell the difference between a Swede and a Finn. Nobody. There was not a single American who could tell the difference between the two groups. But back then, you could the average American could walk up to two men sleeping, one Swede and one a Finn, and with a small rock lightly tap them on the head to hear the echoes inside of their skull, and by that alone instantly determine whether or not one was a Swede or a Finn. Like they just used to know more about racism than we do today. It's enviable in its own way, I think. Online racists are tryhard. IRL, they're still alright. I don't know, man. Because IRL racists. Okay. One last thing. I think that for the most part, racism, like not scientific racism, but a belief that your in group was better than out groups, was a universal belief that essentially everyone had. Even the Romans, with their like multicultural empire, believed it about like barbarians, right? They still had this in out distinction. The idea of tolerance in the modern sense, that you can overcome tribalism and believe that everyone like belongs or whatever, that's a relatively modern thing. So I think people used to be really unapologetic and unashamed about that belief, and as a consequence, they used to believe really funny things about it. Nowadays, in a world which has grown more tolerant, in order to not have that set of beliefs, you have to be more hateful, and nothing is less funny than hate. hate is very unfunny because it gets in the way of making a joke. It's why right-wing comedians suck, you know? Measurehead could be a comedian. Right-wing comedians nowadays all suck ass. They're terribly unfunny, and it's because they hate the groups they're talking about too much. There are infinite jokes you could make about trans people, cruel jokes, and they are very funny, but right-wingers can't make them. They're not capable. They hate them too much. The most they have are like Wojaks of people with facial hair and pink hair hanging themselves. And those are mostly funny at the expense of the people posting them, because it's like, wow, that's the level you're operating on? That's the wavelength that you exist on, where this is like your rebuttal. You seriously think anyone's being moved by this? Like, that says more about you, if anything, you know? It just doesn't work. It is embarrassing. Yeah, it's embarrassing. You feel kind of bad for them, and I do. Certainly. Anyway, the point that I'm getting at, I guess, is that I feel like modern racists are less funny because you have to be more hateful to be racist. I think you could easily be like a race scientist or a believer in eugenics back in the 1800s without being like hateful. You were still racist, but that you could derive it from some kind of like interior, some general belief in perceived superiority and inferiority. But nowadays, I don't think racists really believe that. I think they're mostly like enraged by cuckold porn. I don't know. Like, I don't really, when I see white racists talk about black people today, I don't usually see like principled intellectual beliefs in superiority or inferiority. I usually see like incredibly mad, sexually insecure people. It's a psychosexual. It's the whole thing again. That's why I like watching you, racism without the hate. Hey, happy to be here. Vosh is a mixed race person. I think you're wrong. There are still a lot of racists that will go on about white purity. Yeah. White purity. But that's different. Purity, this in-group, out-group distinction about like the otherism, this is born of like a personal insecurity. It's not based on a belief in the world and the nature of the world. Now, I'm speaking generally. Of course, white supremacy still exists. I'm not saying that it doesn't. I'm just saying it's taken a very different character. I think that racism today is motivated a lot more by emotion than it used to. That's not to say it's ever been rational, only that it's been perceived to be rational by the people pushing it. Whereas nowadays, I feel like even that artifice is largely gone, and the people who openly advocate for racism are usually doing so knowingly that like they're playing on emotional biases, right? I don't think that now, like, the most effective arguments for racism these days, from the perspective of racists talking to other racists, you know, it's all cuckold porn shit, man. It's all like culture war bullshit. It's not actual. None of these people pretend they're learned. I don't know. Return with a V. Racism has gone woke. I do believe that. There is some crazy shit you can read written in the 20s to 40s of white sports pundits talking about being pro-integration because they think black people are inherently more athletic. See, that's principled racism right there. All I'm saying is racists tend to love cuckold porn. All I'm saying is there's a reason why the advocacy that we remember for racism over 100 years shifted from being a mix of like white southern plantation agrarian, we deserve to keep our slaves because that's just the way it is, do you hear? And this is just how it ought to be, you hook. And academia, or I should say academia, to 100 years later during the Civil Rights Act being pretty much exclusively championed by like lunatic ass mad you know, racists who are terrified of sharing a swimming pool. I don't know. It's basically dropped the pretense, which I guess is more honest, but at the same time it's just less funny. I don't know. Dark academia. Well, no. They were trying to prevent dark academia, actually. Dude, fuck. Why am I so sniffly? What the hell? Hold on. Uh, My sleep schedule. So your point is that racism is okay if it's funny? No, my point is that racism is funny if it's funny. But if you're making a racist joke, it had better be funny. And I think that's good, by the way, because that basically axes out all reactionary comedy. Who is Measurehead? Don't worry about it. All right, what was I on? Can we tell that to white lefties that think every shitty joke about white people is gold? Do you like how over the course of a decade, making fun of white people went from being like a subversive lefty thing to do to misogynists attacking women but getting away with it because they say white women? What was that thing that I said that was completely correct? You can make racist jokes against black people as long as you call them white black people, and it's true. If you want to make a joke about black people that's objectively racist, you just have to say they're like white-brained or something, and then all of a sudden it's fine. Making fun of white people is more about making fun of normal people. Yeah, it can get spicy. Yeah, but isn't that problematic? Dude, I saw a fucking racist ass anti-white stereotype at Trader Joe's. I saw like fuck, it was at Trader Joe's and it was like, "Here, meet Kaylee." And it was like Kaylee spelled the white way, you know what I'm talking about. And it was like a blonde white woman who looked like a racial caricature of a white woman and she was advertising their pumpkin spice flavored stuff. But it was absolutely a racial stereotype, you know? It's like, damn, do that shit with black and brown people. I guess they did have Trader Jose's for a while. Maybe they still do. When it was like their Mexican food, it's Trader Jose's. Race Trader Joe's. That's good. I think it's their tequila. Ah. Trader Ming's. We should bully white people. Yeah, but the problem again is that like if you're not funny, like the problem is if you just accept any bullying white people that isn't funny, you just open up the door to people who want to be misogynistic or transphobic or whatever. Because now you've given them like a pass, essentially. Like you can go after any group as long as they're white. You know what I mean? The rule should always be you have to be funny. I don't give a shit about racist jokes, man. You just have to be funny. And that to me is a perfect litmus test because the right can't be funny about racist jokes. I have seen so many fucking racist comics go up there and make jokes about black people, trans people, Jews, whatever else. So rare. Incredibly rare that any of these are funny by any standard. They're just expressions of hate. Hate is deeply unfunny. It's too self-serious. It's also like embarrassing. It's really embarrassing to watch a person get worked up and hateful about a group that's done nothing to them. You know what I mean? That you could feel some like righteous solidarity if there was a real reason for them to be upset. Like if there was a Palestinian really upset about Israel or something, I'd be like, okay, well, I understand why you're really upset about Israel. But like some white comic worth 2.3 million making jokes about trans women, obviously not trans women have done nothing to him. He's probably fucked some, right? Like it's all made up. It's embarrassing, you know? So it's for me, it's the perfect litmus test. Crowder racism is so cringe. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like you're not going to get real comedy from these people. We've been staring at the same excerpt for 15 minutes and he isn't even talking about it anymore. Welcome to live streaming. You want your well coordinated segments? Go to CNN, okay? Have a Zionist lie to you. Have some guy who's worked with the IDF lie to you, okay? Over here, no structure. I didn't even stream yesterday. Hold on. There's a couple of things that we have to get to before we go ahead and start with the segments, okay? Imagine if Vosh had the kind of budget. Imagine if I had the kind of budget where I press this and you could see my whole face. I just don't want you to see my whole face right now because I haven't shaved. I need a haircut. I'm wearing a hat. It looks fine. Keeping the hat on, though. Vosh haircut arc. I'm going to get it, like, shorter. You just feel ickier than you look. Yeah, but isn't that what matters? Right? You look fine, Jesus Christ, Lamau. I've been acting like a teenage girl around the house lately, by the way. I've been looking in the mirror and been like, I don't know about this curve. I've been like, I'm developing like late inset, late onset, body dysmorphia. I don't know. I think I might be the fattest person to have ever lived. I'm telling you, it's the t-shirts, okay? Middle-age crisis, yeah. It's the t-shirts, I'm telling you. It's the t-shirts. Got to get back on the Peloton bike. I just think that we need to standardize t-shirt fits, okay? That's all I think. What happened to the closet to your right? Something's going on here. I shifted the camera perspective slightly. Closet's still right over there. Shirts are too long. Shirts are too long! The more you exercise, the more dysmorphic you get. Never exercise. That's fucking true. That's true. 100%. What was I going to say next? Oh, that's right. Hold on. Now, even though it's really inconvenient for me to show this because I have to open it up in a I have to open it up in a new window and then I have to have OBS like specifically look at it. Can I open it up in Chrome? No, I can't. I have to open it up in the Windows Media Player. Hold on one second. It's going to play audio for a second. It's very inconvenient for me and it's all for the sake of like a 4-second video, but I'm doing this at the behest of my partner, after which I'm allowed to move on and do the actual job for which I'm paid by Google and also by my fans. There's nothing that I can really do here, folks. I'm up against the wall, essentially. Here, now let me just, here. Windows Media Player. Very good, very good. Excellent. Okay, there we go. See, now we have it open, and here you can see Bagheera, the black cat in this household, being stupid for 4 seconds. Very good, right? I know. It was worth the time. Why do cats do that? Because they're very stupid. Why isn't this the stream? Well, would you pay me for this? Yes? Okay. Okay, then I'll consider your offer, okay? But for right now, we do have to get to the segments. No, I'll consider it. I'll consider it, okay? I think you'd get more money doing this. You know, everyone says that, but I don't think it's true. I don't think cats are actually dumb. I just think they get silly with it sometimes, you know? Can we open with some bad stream? Are we legally allowed to do that? We already have. No, no, no. No more distractions. Okay, you can throw her in. There we go. Very good. It's tough out here, folks. It's very tough out here. It's hard to work with the distractions. Nobody respects my job. Sometimes I'll be like, hey, can you not do something loud right outside the door? And no one listens to me. They didn't listen to me at the old house. They don't listen to me now. It's like, oh, did you know I'm like a popular and widely respected for some reason? online figure. You're interrupting the audio quality for potentially hundreds of thousands of people once it makes it to a segment. But does anyone care? No one cares. Where is the thing that I'm looking for? That's a lot of Gatorade. It's literally 3 8-packs, which I will go through in a week. What do you want? How is that a lot of Gatorade? How much fucking matcha labubu do you drink? Do I have to move it? Are you gonna make comments on it every time? It's just fucking it's no sugar Gatorade. It's 10 calories a drink. It's nothing. Your life, homie. You're right, it is. Yo. Oh my god, maybe the cat thing does work out. Where the fuck is the thing? Okay. We might be at the end of democracy in America. I'm very sorry to say. I've said that before. Why am I saying it this time? Dominion voting machines has been bought out by Republican partisans in an agreement that also led to them dropping their multi-billion-dollar lawsuits against institutions like, I believe, OAN, not Newsmax. Maybe it's OAN and Newsmax. Rudy Giuliani and what was her name? The Kraken. Remember one of Trump's lawyers, the Kraken? What's her name? Come on. She called herself the Kraken. She's a laughably incompetent lawyer, only interested in aura farming. Sidney Powell, thank you very, very much. Here we go. No, it's quite bad. It's quite bad, I'm sorry to say. Former GOP election official buys Dominion voting system, says he'll push for paper ballots. So essentially, they're hardlining the partisan angle right away. It's a pretty common conspiracy theory among the right that the electronic voting, not internet, but via a machine, contributes in some way to the unverifiability of a voting tally. So it's pretty obvious who they're signaling to. Dominion Voting Systems is being sold and rebranded as Liberty Vote, effective immediately. Scott Leyendecker, the founder of a Missouri-based election technology company who previously served as the Republican director for the St. Louis City Board of Elections. Again, this guy isn't just a Republican. His job was being a Republican supervisor for city elections. Purchased the company this week for an undisclosed sum. Really curious about that undisclosed sum. Dominion voting machines, not exactly, Dominion voting, not exactly a small company, worth a lot of money, also had multi-billion-dollar lawsuits running against multiple, Trump-related institutions and people. You know what I think? I think they were forced into this. I think that the Trump administration directly had a conversation with Dominion and was like, no, you're out. We will annihilate you if you're not out. Can anyone think of a better explanation for this? Seriously, can somebody think? Dominion voting was not kowtowing to the right. They were suing the people who lied about them. As of today, Dominion is gone. Liberty Vote assumes full ownership and operational control. Leyendecker says he wants to use the renamed company to restore public confidence in the U.S. electoral process. Liberty now also vows to be bipartisan as it works to reshape Dominion's image. Dominion's election products were used by millions of U.S. voters across 27 states last year. Dominion's founder and CEO, John Poulos, so this is the guy who just sold the company, confirmed in a one-sentence statement provided to CNN on Thursday that, quote, Liberty Vote has acquired Dominion voting systems. Does that sound like a consensual exchange to you? That's all he has to say? Former owner of Dominion Voting, Liberty Vote has acquired our company. Do you have a statement to make on this massive... You're dropping multiple multi-billion-dollar lawsuits. You were at the center of a entire election conspiracy, and now suddenly, for an undisclosed sum, you're selling your company to a partisan Republican who used to work for the Republican voting board. at a city level. What do you have to say about that? They bought us. Goodbye. Well, that just happened. Didn't they get 700 million from Fox News? Why does he need to sell? But I'm telling you, the DOJ directly threatened him. I guarantee you, there's no other fucking way. Keep in mind that right now the Trump administration has basically been like going haywire with punishing corporations, threatening lawsuits, filing lawsuits, export tariffs, which are unconstitutional, which he threatened with Intel and AMD, nationalizing portions of the of those companies in exchange for not imposing those export tariffs, or I guess that's in a way its own tariff. Like, Jesus Christ. Why can't Dems threaten corporations? To be clear, by the way, all of this is unambiguously illegal, okay? We don't have any information here on how this is illegal. Like, we don't know any of the details. I'm telling you right now it's illegal. There is no way what is happening was not in some way pressed by the administration, and in a fair democracy, this shouldn't be able to happen, you know? Leaving aside the problem with a private company running the voting machines to begin with, obviously, like, we're not stupid here. We know that's bad. But even in that context, there's just no excuse for this. Vosh, I'm pretty sure they lost a lot of clientele after the 2020 election, and the company is basically not picking up government contracts afterwards. So even if they bought it, there's a good chance that they're just not going to be selected anyway. Now, I guarantee you that this acquisition was done in concert with the expectation that they get those contracts anyway. Guarantee you. Yeah, 100, that's just the pressure right there. We're not accepting you at these locations unless you sell. That's the same thing they did for TikTok. TikTok also is being purchased by like insane right-wing Zionist Palantir types. States control elections, though. Yeah, but red states work directly in tandem with the federal government right now, right? Like they're coordinating to the extent that Texas is sending its own National Guard to Chicago. Like the federal government is more than willing to, like, maybe Dominion couldn't stay afloat without those red state contracts, or maybe, you know, just because we think of it as a red state, blue state thing, we also don't know the details of these available contracts in blue states in many cases. And by we, I mean I don't know the details of all of them. More information will probably arise on this in the future. I'm sure some investigative reporter will look into like the nature of these contracts, the threats, and we're probably going to see a bunch of these contracts get renewed now that they've been bought by, you know, the Republican partisan. We'll see. But I'm going to assume it's foul play. I think it's fair for me to. The company's new owner laid out 4 goals, many of which align with the Trump administration, and which they argue will restore trust in U.S. elections, the main being a heavy emphasis on paper ballots. The sale of Dominion comes as Trump has repeatedly insisted he plans to overhaul America's election systems, from wanting to move the U.S. to all paper ballots, require voter ID in all elections, and restrict mail-in voting. Liberty Vote also plans on ensuring the company is, quote, 100% American-owned, including all domestic staffing and software development, the release states. Dominion was founded as a Canadian company with offices in Toronto, Denver, and Dallas. Look, this is the website. LibertyVote.com. This used to be the Dominion website. My fellow Americans, today, I am proud to announce Liberty Vote, a 100% American-owned election technology company dedicated to restoring trust in our elections. Our mission is clear. Every vote must be secure, fair, and verifiable. I've spent my entire life working to strengthen America's elections. That commitment began years ago in the aftermath of the 2000 election when I worked for the Missouri Secretary of State. Later, as election director in St. Louis, I led the effort to modernize outdated systems and rebuild public trust. Eventually, I founded an election technology company that today serves nearly 1 in 4 voters nationwide. Does this seem to you like a normal thing that a election company would do? Like, normally a company that presides over election voter registration or vote counting technology, I feel like they would put every possible effort into not looking partisan. Like, this is literally the most dangerous place you could ever see partisanship. From the guy selling the machines that count your vote. I do like, though, that they chose a picture of the Washington Monument where all the U.S. flags at the base are half-mast, as though we're celebrating, like, perhaps the death of American democracy. You guys know the Washington Monument's huge, right? I mean, like, everyone knows it's huge, but until I was near the Washington Monument, you really don't get perspective to the fact that none of these American flags are normal flag sized. All of these American flags right here at the bottom, these tiny ones, are actually massive themselves. It's just like a perspective bit. You'd expect them to be like half that size. It's a huge obelisk, yeah. Wait, so votes in USA aren't actually managed by the USA? Well, the rules of every election are managed by the states. The states have, as long as they follow like a simple set of rules, the states are allowed to make their own determinations about how they collect the votes. And then, of course, it's not actually the votes that get counted towards the presidential election. It's the electoral count, but that's only for the presidential. The votes have to be tallied, and for tallying them, there are private companies that build and sell systems that they contract with those state governments, so the votes get counted. Electronic systems, ones that like really quickly count paper ballots. There's a variety of ways it's done. But yes, typically, those are private companies. I think there might be like some publicly owned infrastructure there, but I think for the most part, it's private companies. How do you become an election commissioner in the U.S.? Well, he was in a partisan position, so if you like, you don't need to have any specific qualifications to be the Republican vote. What was his title? Republican director for the St. Louis City Board of Elections. You just represent the Republican Party at the City Board of Elections. So yeah, your job essentially is to be there and to make sure that they're not cheating against you, but rather in your favor. Why is our democracy run like this? I didn't fucking pour the soy sauce into the bowl. Don't fucking bother me about this shit. I don't know, because of capitalism. What do you want? It was rhetorical, my bad. Well, it was facetious, my bad. In Germany, it gets done by volunteers. It does over here too. We also have volunteers that work at election offices. Remember, a lot of them got death threats back in 2020. My beautiful partner really earning that moment later today when I tell them they're paying for dinner. Hello, River. Dominion was a little-known election vendor before 2020. Exactly what do the machines do then? There are a lot of different machines provided by a lot of different companies, and they do a lot of different things. Usually, votes are, pardon me if I'm wrong, this varies state by state. Usually, votes are hand counted. There are paper ballots, and they're hand counted. You have them literally in like big bins, and they have to manually count through everything. But usually, there's a machine backup, right? The point is, you get a machine check, and then you make sure the hand count like validates it. And the reason that's valuable is because that way, like, it's very, very, very difficult to fake something across both of those systems. Like, it's really difficult to get the same faked number if the machine tallies like 117,000 or something, and then the humans tally exactly that same amount. It's like, how the fuck do you fake that? You would need to coordinate that incredibly well, or have like multiple points of compromise, basically. But it varies state to state. It's complicated. I don't even know. Like, California takes forever. I don't fucking know. Arizona takes forever. So how would this help them cheat in 2026? Well, let's think. Let's think. The big one for me would be them falsely claiming that their own machines have been tampered with if the result in a given voting district doesn't align with what the Republican Party wants. So basically, the Republicans will say, hey, we lost in this area. There must be cheating afoot. And Liberty Vote will say, you're right. we think there might have been somebody tampering with these machines. We're going to take them down and investigate immediately, thereby providing more fuel to the Republicans and potentially giving them more, leeway or more like groundwork for future fuckery, that kind of thing. That would be my guess. I thought they were eliminating the machines with this acquisition. No, they sell the machines, but there are machines that can read the paper ballots. I mean, the problem is they have no authority or power to do that. It's entirely state controlled. Well, no, they do have the authority and power to say, we think it's been tampered with. They can do that because that's just a PR thing, right? They'd be lying, but they can do that if they want. And by having, like, I do think that it was good that Dominion voting back in 2020 said, no, we are not flipping millions of votes to Democrats, fuck you, rather than them saying, you're right, we think that a seditious Chinese hacker might have switched the votes or something. You know what I mean? It is true, though, that I don't think there's anything that the Liberty vote machines can do to directly alter the vote. That's just very, very difficult, It's why I tend not to believe in any conspiracy theories about 2024, like Elon directly changing the votes in any of those states. It could have happened. Maybe, but like people say stuff like, don't you think it's a coincidence that in all 7 swing states Trump won by just enough people to not flip the auto recount, which for one is a lie, but for two, like, do you have any idea how difficult it would be to falsify votes in that many voting districts across the country without there being any verifiable evidence even a year after the fact? That would be, he's not that smart. I don't think anyone is. That's crazy. It's not like people haven't tried to falsify votes before. It's incredibly difficult to do at scale. It's easy enough for one person to lie about their vote or to vote twice or something if they finagle or whatever. But to do it on any kind of systemic level, no, I don't think so. I saw Alex Gross. It's one of the reasons why I'm not typically a big fan of those conspiracy theories. Also, the narrative that they cheated in 2024 feeds into the delusional liberal narrative that they did everything right, actually. Yes, I'm principally against any interpretation of 2024 that does not lead to, like, all of Democratic leadership symbolically getting on their knees and committing seppuku, Like, I do not want anyone to come away from that thinking like, actually, Kamala Harris and Schumer did everything they could have, and it was really just the system that failed them. I never got the whole vote switching conspiracy. If you were to go after anything, it'd be the voter roll purges, which they do. They do for millions of people, and people don't talk about it enough. Like, that's the real, like, Texas literally just removed hundreds of thousands of legally registered black and brown, mostly, voters. They did so in a bunch of red states. They love doing that shit. They're just like, we think there was a speck of dust on our keyboard and we hit the delete key accidentally. Whoops! Like, they don't even try. That's actual electoral interference. You don't have to finagle with any bullshit like they switch the votes. You should re-sign up to vote every single year if you are a Democrat in a red state. What does registering to vote actually mean? Okay, to any non-Americans watching, you're not going to believe this, but even if you're born an American citizen, when you turn 18, you don't automatically have the right to vote. For some reason, you have to fill out a form and send it to the government to let them know that you're ready to vote, even though the government already knows that. And you have to update it every time you move. So if you move houses, even like in the same city, you have to fill out the form again in order to vote, the fundamental right that props up a democracy. You're, Isn't that bureaucratic waste? Doge should get on that. Yeah. Yeah, the fact that we managed to get a 180 million person turnout for the election is a miracle, considering the bullshit we put people through. You know, the fact that if you move, like you have to, yeah, I don't know. In Canada, when you fill out your tax return, it registers you to vote. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? How long in advance do people have to register? Well, it depends on the state. Can the registration easily fail, or is it an easy process? Well, it should be a shoo-in. It should be. But people often get deregistered, and, like, stuff happens. So, you know, is it related to being registered for a party? No, no relation. Being registered to vote is something you do with your state government. Being registered for a party is an agreement between you and a private organization. It's very straightforward in many states unless your name changes. You shouldn't have to do it at all. There literally should be no, it's like filling out a tax return. There should be literally no reason to need to do it at all. The only thing a tax return should be to 99% of Americans is like an envelope full of receipts for shit you had to pay for that was not your fault, that you then send to the IRS, and then they send you money back with an apology note. Like that should be filing your taxes. Maybe it'd be different for us sole proprietors, admittedly, but for most people, that's all it should be. That's what it is everywhere else in the world. I know. Anyway. Here, let me send this over to my beloved editors, and then we'll move on. You really should LLC to take advantage of the tax system. I promise you I know more about registering with an LLC than you do. And boy, that seems like a pain in the ass. I promise you I do, okay? One second. Type shit. All right. I've been saying type shit a lot lately. I got a Twitter DM from somebody saying that they've been saying put their balls on the table a lot in casual conversation lately. Like to spread the brain rot. I actually put my physical balls on the table. Have you ever done that? It feels so fucking good to feel like the cool, like top of the table on the underside of your balls. And then it leaves like a ball imprint because your balls are so warm. Kyle Kalinske taught me I'm gonna shock my nutsack in a waffle iron. I assume you mean shove my nutsack in a waffle iron. Right? You wouldn't shock it. Unless you, like, drop the waffle iron in a full bathtub when your nuts were dipped in it. Which I don't think you should do. But it might feel good. The temp shock from the presumably cold and terrible would feel horrible. Fuck you mean feel good? What? How cold is the top of your table? It's a balmy, what, I don't know, 70, 68 degrees over here in Seattle. Like, the top, right now, my table, frankly, my table is looking very fuckable. It's made out of wood, not like metal. I don't know. Maybe if it was like a metal table. The kitchen tape? No, my desk tape right here. This one that my shit is on. Metal table in Alaska. Yeah, yeah. Oh, man. Close this tab, close this tab. Can't have too many tabs open. It'll confuse me. My small streamer brain. Do you add anything to the rice and tuna to modify the flavor? Yes? What's like asking if I, like, oh, you had chicken yesterday. Did you just boil a chicken breast with no seasoning? No, God. I add Greek yogurt, garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. Mix that in the appropriate proportions with the tuna, and then have it with some rice and soy sauce. And I think you've got a very nice contrast. You've got like the hot rice and the room temp tuna. You know, it's quite good. It's quite good. It's a little cold actually, the tuna, because it's got the Greek yogurt in it. You know. Are you aware that tuna contains mercury? Well, are you aware of the fact that according to the state of California, the fucking Snickers bar that you had last night contains known cancer-causing ingredients? Shut the fuck up. Carcinogens, thank you. You guys hear about this? In exchange for, I assume as an apology note for Israel striking Qatar, because Trump really likes Qatar. He really likes his Gulf states because they're, you know, like him. Uh, they are getting an Air Force facility at a U.S. base in Idaho. How fucking funny is that, dude? The Qatari Emiri Air Force is to build a facility at the Mountain Home Air Force Base in Idaho. The agreement, which Hegseth announced alongside Qatari Minister of Defense Sheikh Saad bin Abdulrahman Al Thani at the Pentagon, will allow Qatari pilots to receive training alongside U.S. soldiers. There are no foreign military bases in the United States, but some foreign militaries do maintain a presence for training. The Singaporean Air Force also has a presence at the Mountain Home Base. They're building like a Epcot center over there in Idaho, you know? Singapore, Qatar. That's fucking funny. Saw a MAGA account post this will let Qatar attack New York again. He's not wrong. Doesn't Qatar funnel funds into Hamas? I don't know, probably. Why not? Something, something. Who cares? These two men literally look the same to me, except that the Qatari deputy prime minister is wearing a much nicer suit. So the law doesn't apply at all anymore? There's nothing illegal about allowing Qatar to have a facility at an existing Air Force base. It's not illegal. It's just, you know, fucking funny, mostly. What do you do when you don't have a driver's license in the US? 2-hour commute everywhere, and you have to share your buses, which arrive once every 45 minutes, with the dregs of society. And I don't mean poor people. I mean, like, most buses in America are now a roving shelter for people who should have been in an institution 25 years ago, and today are, like, shamblers, you know? And I say that only with sympathy in my heart. But it is true. And it's your only ID document? What the fuck are you talking about? Oh, you mean for voting. Well, the Republicans want to make it so that in order to vote, you have to bring like your passport um and your birth certificate, and you have to like press your tip up against a little machine that registers the tip, you know, in order to vote, to make sure that you're not cheating. Online, it's just your SSN. You can't vote online. I meant to be registered. Oh. Trump has routine yearly checkup 6 months after annual physical exam. Didn't he get the COVID booster? Yeah, COVID-19 booster. Of course he did. When previously asked, the White House declined to explain why the president was undergoing a second yearly checkup. Well, he is like 80 years old. That does make sense on its own. I saw somebody on Twitter saying the reason they were doing this and the reason that they announced that he's getting a COVID-19 booster, which he has definitely had in the past, but they didn't announce it in the past, is so that when he strokes out really badly and they make it like they can't hide it this time, they can be like, oh my God, vaxxed? It's because he was vaxxed. I wonder if that's true. I remember these pictures. He's falling apart, man. He has 6 to 8 months left, according to a doctor Kyle showed. I don't think any doctor could say that with any confidence. Fucking Nanjo checking up on Kinzo Urashimiya. Fuck you. Type shit. Moving on. What is this? What are my tabs? We need to clear my tabs. Chicago priest, Friar? Is this Friar? I don't think I've ever seen. Is it father or friar? It's got to be father, right? Okay, I think that abbreviating father looks weird, so I don't think they should do that. Larry Dowling describes procession to ICE facility. No one had the courage to speak directly to us. No one from Homeland Security could stand in the presence of a monstrance holding the Blessed Sacrament. No wonder. Evil is repelled, recoils in the presence of Christ. Yes! This is the rhetoric I need to see for our ICE occupiers, okay? I need sprinkling holy water on them, and when they recoil from the water being like sprayed on them, you start screaming about how demons repel from the, you know, the the presence of Christ. That's very, very good. I had the privilege this morning of leading a Eucharistic procession from St. Eulalia Church in Maywood, Illinois, to the ICE Detention Center in Broadview. We went to pray and have a few of us clergy and religious women bring Holy Communion and the love of the Christian community to the men and women detained there under inhumane conditions. Over 1,000 Catholics and other Christians, once again, non-convert Catholics proving themselves the superior denomination here in America, marched in peaceful prayer and song, facilitated by the Maywood and Broadview police departments and the Illinois State Police. I cannot speak more highly of these public safety officers providing us safe passage. Upon arrival, it was a different story. There were no ICE or federal representatives there. When requesting to talk with a rep from Homeland Security and ICE, the state police reached out on our behalf to make the request over the phone. After a brief wait, the answer came back very clearly. No, you cannot bring a hint of compassion and prayer into this place. No, you cannot offer any solace to the men and women fearful and suffering inside. No, you cannot bring Jesus, the Son of God, the love of God, into this place. No one had the courage to speak directly to us. No one from Homeland Security could stand in the presence of the monstrance holding the Blessed Sacrament. No wonder. Evil is prepared and it recoils in the presence of Christ. What we have been able to do for detainees for the past several years, which is written into Illinois law, was refused by this current federal government. Father, forget. Keep in mind, by the way, that normally priests are able to access prisons pretty easily. Like, that's one of the things. It's literally like a media trope, you know? They come in and out pretty, regularly. What we have been able to do for detainees the past several years, which is written in Illinois law, was refused by this current federal government. Father, forgive the ones who do not know what they are doing. Have mercy on the souls of those who know exactly what they're doing. Touch their hearts and transform them from stony hearts into fleshy, life-giving hearts. Only through, with, and in God will hearts be changed. Incredible stuff. Again, like it's just a plurality of approaches. Okay, the ICE officers are obviously demonic. We know they're satanic in nature. We know that they're not of Earth. They were raised from hell. So, the Christ-loving masses should be against them. I just want to see, you know. Did you see the vid of that priest being shot in the face by the pepper ball? Yes, and presumably this was being done partly in response to that. Yeah. Speaking how evil ICE is. Yeah, I did see this. This shit's crazy, man.
So a 15-year-old boy, autistic, who was believed to be missing, has actually been in ICE custody for several days. Fox 26's Jillian Hartman is live in Spring Branch, where the boy was last seen almost a week ago. And you just got an update from the family the past 30 minutes. What did they have to tell you, Jillian?
Yes, we learned that the boy is in ICE custody at one of the detention centers here in Houston. The mom says that he is safe and okay. Now, the boy was here at this intersection in Spring Branch with his mom and sister selling fruit when he disappeared. And here's the information we just learned in the last 30 minutes. Take a look at this. So the boy has autism and is sometimes nonverbal, and he disappeared last Saturday. He's 15 years old, but his social worker says he has the mindset of a 4 to 5-year-old. So they're very worried about his safety. The mom said around 3 p.m. on October 4th, she was with a customer selling fruit when her son asked her to use the restroom, and when she turned around, he was gone. Now, they filed a missing person report with Houston police. And
can you fucking imagine, man? Literally, like, just anything in service of the quota. Like, ICE guys wanting to abduct this family selling fruit by the side of the road, but then they see this kid wander off to go take a piss or whatever, and they're like, nah, that's an easy pick, go get him. And they just fucking abduct him and shove him into a van, and they run off.
Earlier today, Fiel Houston held a press conference with the family begging for the public's help to find him. Now, today, police notified the family that the boy was found safe. Fiel Houston said a law enforcement agency found him, and he's been at the Office of Refugee Resettlement Children's Detention Center since Monday. The family is undocumented, and they're trying to get him released.
Isn't it illegal to take kids without their parents' knowledge? Well, what is or isn't legal is kind of irrelevant at this point with ICE. We know they're breaking the law nonstop. I think, like, normally, like, ideally, federal law enforcement are supposed to abide by pretty similar laws to local and state law enforcement when they conduct an arrest, right? Like, if the FBI are arresting a minor, usually there's some kind of relay of information to the parents, but they're so far beyond doing that, dude.
From ICE custody, and I'm told that the mom just had a FaceTime conversation with her son in the last 30 minutes and is thankful he is alive and hopes to be reunited with him soon. Reporting live, I'm Jillian Hartman.
The more they do to make themselves unsympathetic, God almighty, ICE has taken over the Bass Pro Pyramid, the West has fallen. It's 2025 BC. I am a soldier from one of the outlying provinces called to defend the pyramid in Memphis. It's 2025 AD. I am a soldier from one of the outlying provinces called to defend the pyramid in Memphis. It rhymes. It rhymes. The Pope made a statement. Dude, the Pope's been making a statement like every day. Every day the Pope wakes up and he's like, hey, yo, he's from Chicago. Every day the Pope wakes up and he's like, fuck ICE, am I right? Hey guys, you're all going to hell, you know that, right? Over and over and over and over again. It's very consistent, you know? You shouldn't need to worry too much about that. We know the Pope's on our side, okay? American Catholics. Still have yet to see the ramifications after this one fully. Remember? The WGN? Yeah, WGN TV Chicago employee getting like violently arrested over here. And when the ICE officer peels out, they hit a car.
Yep.
Their license plate is about to get paid.
Yeah. What's her?
Fucking demonic. I need them to be arrested. I need them to be unmasked. I need it so badly, man. You have no idea how badly I need this. Oh my god. Dude, it pisses me off so fucking much how slanted the media bias is. If you take a look, if you Google like ICE Chicago, ICE protest, anything like that, any combination of words in that ballpark, you will see so many videos from partisan far-right news sources that frame everything as, well, ICE and the police are just cracking down on violent left mob protesters. But for the most part, you don't get that kind of gonzo coverage at all. Can you imagine if MSNBC, CNN, whatever, ABC, CBS, if they all posted videos of the same tone in the other direction? How many videos, like, think of how many videos there are just on social media, just captured by random civilians showing unspeakable acts of brutality committed by ICE. If they were as committed to showcasing that as Fox News is to every instance of a protester being rowdy, there would be the media landscape would just be saturated. 20 times as much coverage in the other direction. All lefty channels should start doing that. I'm trying, but none of these mainstream news channels are lefty. Look, it is worth keeping in mind that a lot of the people who work at these news stations, you know, like work at, not own, work at, hate ICE, despise ICE. Much in the same way that a lot of cops don't like ICE, you know, in Chicago and Broadview and Portland. It's more of a leadership thing. Yeah, most people don't like ICE. I'm sure the journalists are doing a good job, you know, as best as they can, I guess, at least a lot of them. There are just limits to how partisan these institutions are, you know, willing to come across. Is there any polling on ICE? My understanding right now is that the popularity of the mass deportations of ICE, DHS, and just the whole, you know, anti-immigrant stance in general, all of it is underwater. That's my understanding. I'm pretty sure this is like getting closer and closer to a 70-30 issue. I could be wrong on that. It depends massively on how you phrase it. If you ask the average American, how do you feel about deporting illegal immigrants? Most Americans will say they're in favor of it. But then if you ask, like, how do you think the Trump administration has been handling the deportation of immigrants or whatever, then it's more like a 70-30. You know what I mean? So the average person is very stupid. Has the number of missing person reports gone up after Trump gained office? Well, a lot of undocumented people won't make missing person reports because they're worried that if by interacting with the police, they would just shine light onto their, you know, their immigration status. If it makes you feel any better, here's a video of some fat-ass ICE agents tripping while chasing a guy. Oh, please.
Go.
Go! Man down! I'm hit! Oh my god. The way he didn't even trip. I think he was just winded and didn't want to run anymore, but he knew that if he just stopped, it would look worse, so he had to pretend he was doing a forward roll or something, you know? I'll see you in Valhalla, brother. They call it the slowest fucking chase.
Go, go, go!
Go! I'll see you on the other side. Man, this guy looks like he's just doing a light jog. Does he even know he's being chased by the Department of Homeland Security? This guy might just be like a little brown and on a morning run, you know? He might have no idea. He's got his fucking AirPods in. He doesn't know. Out jogged at a brisk 3.0. I'm so fucking happy they have like no training requirements for ICE, dude. I don't know. They seem to have no performance requirements either. I feel like half the people in chat who have been struggling with unemployment, you could sign up with ICE, just do nothing, and probably get a couple decent paychecks out of it before somebody found out. You might be able to ride through the whole administration, you know? Nah, I'd like to get laid in this lifetime. That's fair. Can I say something problematic? I've seen a lot of masked white ICE officers and a lot who, judging from their skin tone, look Latin. I don't think I've seen a single black guy. The uniformity of the black community against Trump is pretty strong, huh? There's a few. I'm sure there's a few. I'm not saying there are none. They've got a lot of employees. Just not a lot. But there's like a lot of Latin guys, you know? They are disappointing their Catholic mimas, I'll tell you that much. Are there women in ICE? My guess probably is that the number of, the proportion, the percentage of women in the DHS has decreased substantially in the past decade because the work culture has gotten a lot worse. That's just my guess. My guess is that, like, after Tom Homan was appointed by Obama, after 2016, after the DHS got more, like, openly fascist, it's probably like a nonstop parade of sexual assault and harassment for women in the, Yeah, can you imagine being a woman around, like, the average ICE officer? Have you seen these people? Jesus Christ. Not that I feel sympathy for them. It's not like a female veteran thing. If you're in it for college, then okay, you're probably just like doing laps around a base in Arkansas or something. But if you're a woman and you join ICE, you knew what you were getting into, okay? I'm surprised we're not getting more Chicago women honeypotting ICE agents to demask them. I'm telling you, man, nobody... Do you want to do that job? Absolutely not. The average ICE officer is, without a doubt, like a lunatic, okay? These are not just regular cops. There are plenty of police officers who are, like, incidentally bad people, but, like, this is even a trope on Grindr, right? Where they're, like, no cops, you know? Day to day, they'll be like an NYPD officer, and then like they're a twink on Grindr at night, and that's not a conflict of interest for them. There are tons of gay officers in the NYPD. It's just like, you know, people don't want to fuck cops, but they're like more or less normal people, you know, outside of being a police officer. I don't think the ICE agents are like that. You know what I mean? Like, you are pre-selecting for so many bad characteristics with ICE specifically. With a police officer, there are, look, I know, pardon me for being a bad leftist, okay? There are normal police officers. There are people who are police officers who are like day-to-day normal. They might be conservative leaning, but there are plenty of cops who are like more or less normal people, okay? Not all of them, but they exist. I genuinely do not think that is the case for ICE. I don't. I think that we're like pre-selecting. There are like multiple selection passes happening here. A significant number of these people are actual lunatics, like proper lunatics. Do you think they actually do background checks? I wouldn't be surprised if the majority of ICE agents are felons who couldn't get a job. That's a great possibility. For me personally, I think that the most militant ICE officers that we see are probably pulled from white supremacist militias. We know for a fact that the FBI kept tabs, probably still does, on white supremacist militias all over the country and has insiders and, informants and so on all over the place. And these are the people who are most loyal to the administration and would be most willing to do grunt work to create a white ethno-state. My guess is that they thought this was a win-win. How do we bring all of these crazy people into the fold and like militarize them, give them a bunch of power without attracting all the negative attention that you would do from doing that publicly? How do we get a group of people who are extremely loyal and extremely violent, but also won't complain if we give them shit work or bad living conditions or anything like that? Keep in mind, the life of these ICE officers is not an easy or good one. They are miserable, wretched people. They're given an extremely demanding quota that they have to meet at any and all cost. They have to ignore every single standard of socialization. Like, they have to be obviously, knowingly, openly evil and deal with the hatred of everyone around them. And they have to work with each other, which is probably the hardest part. They live in constant fear of being doxxed. No one wants to be around them. It's not like they're living it up right now. They're not like an elite group of, noble knights or whatever. They're not like the elite guard of the administration who get to like march down from on high or whatever. They're out there tear gassing themselves 24/7. They're awful, right? They are being paid though. Sure, they're being paid. They're being paid the same amount as like an entry-level Silicon Valley position, maybe. And maybe they get that $50,000 sign-up bonus, up to $50,000. Do you understand what I'm talking about here? You understand what I'm getting at here? The point that I'm trying to make is like, it's not actually an easy job. You can hate them, and you should. You have to. It's morally obligatory that you hate them. But let's not pretend they have an easy job, okay? It's not like, I'm not praising them when I say they have a hard job. What I'm saying is that they needed a group of loyalists who would be willing to do this work, right? So that's why I think they've been pulling from these people. That's why I think they've been pulling from these groups. Proud Boys, maybe Proud Boys, because they're all drama queens, Three Percenters, Patriot Front, all of these crazy fucking East Washington and Oregon and all of Idaho white supremacist groups. I bet that, and that's why they're all so insistent on masking. You're saying we should be happy their jobs are hard? Well, their job is to deport millions of Americans from America. Their job was always going to be difficult. I think it's important to understand, like, where they're at. You need to know your enemy, okay? How do you feel about the FBI, ATF, what the ETC? I don't know. I mean, bad? What do you mean? That's kind of a broad question. It's very difficult to summarize that in a small chunk. What do you mean, how do I feel? They exist? Cat. Is the FBI in Trump's pocket like ICE is? No. I think that on average, FBI agents are not as positively disposed towards him, and that's one of the reasons why the DHS has had to do everything. The DHS, through Stephen Miller, that's like the entire enforcement arm of the Trump administration right now. The FBI hasn't really done shit, because Kash Patel can't do shit. I don't know. I want to watch the JD Vance Stephanopoulos interview. ABC News, you got it for me? Apparently this one went quite well. Well, in quotation marks. 1 second. River. Hello. Yeah? Yeah? Yes? Do we long to escape? Life is so hard for a kitten that does not pay rent. Hi. Life is so hard. Life is so hard. Life is so hard. All right. We do love the kitten, don't we, folks? All right, what are we talking about? The full thing or the important clip? Probably the full thing. Hold on, where's the full thing? I see a clip. As a trans woman from Belgium, does your cat have stage fright? As a cisgender man in Seattle, shut the fuck up. Where the fuck is the full interview? Why can't I find it? Was it from yesterday? I think it was from yesterday. The interview itself was from yesterday. I can't find it. All right, well, if somebody can pull that for me. In the meantime, I'm going to keep going through these tabs because I have way the fuck too many. This footage of military troops standing in line at a food bank during the government shutdown is going viral. What, because they don't have money? Lack of pay for the military?
As I take a step aside here, there is quite a bit of military members and their families in line because of this government shutdown.
They're calling it the most effective strategy ever to endear oneself to a military prior to an attempt at a coup.
And we're in day 9 of it, and they're here for a food pantry. There's all sorts of food that is available, and I spoke with some military member spouses, and I spoke with some department heads here at the ASYMCA on why this is so important. What's the difference in the amount of people that you've seen from today to previously?
So when we first started coming, there definitely wasn't this amount of people. It was a lot, but it wasn't this amount to where it wrapped around the building.
Winning.
But lately it has been a lot. Like, we were here last week and we were in line for like 2 hours.
When does the military get paid? Probably bi-weekly like the rest of us, right? Yeah, it's pretty bad for them. Yeesh. U.S. is privatizing the army version of a grocery chain that offers stuff for relatively cheap. Nice, nice, nice. It's the 1st and 15th every month. Yeah, the government cannot pay them right now.
Hours.
In a normal week, we usually run out of food about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Last week, we ran out of food about 10:30.
As I take a step.
Ooh, that is. Here's the full clip.
Yeah, Sade, good morning. And I tell you what, this line has gotten bigger and bigger. There's a track here that we're here on the 2nd floor at the Armed Services YMCA, and it is all wrapped around. So I have got a military spouse here, Migdalia here. And tell me, why did you decide to come this morning?
It just helps us out a lot. It saves us on groceries, especially with everything going on right now.
I'm asking this. I actually don't know the answer. Do the soldiers here have to show up to the food bank in their uniform? Could they not change into civilian clothing? Or are they doing this as a deliberate protest? Like, if they're allowed to leave the base to go to a food bank, presumably they could, but they're probably going to work later. It's just, I feel like if they were doing this as a deliberate protest, you would show up wearing your combat fatigues, right? Active duty soldiers have to be in uniform everywhere. I feel like sometimes they can put in civilian clothing. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, so I don't want to comment.
saves us from having to spend so much on groceries, because even though we're only 2 people, we still spend $300 every 2 weeks on groceries. So this cuts back at least half of that.
Absolutely. It's just you and your husband, and we're 9 days into this government shutdown. What are you guys worried about?
Basically just not being able to cover all of our expenses, because we did just have to get an extension for our car payment when we were getting paid. So with all that going on, we don't know if we're going to be able to pay for the extension coming up, because we don't know if we're going to get paid or not.
Yeah, it's a lot to worry about with the food that's in there. There's quite a bit. What are you guys looking for? There's milk that's in there. There's butter that's in there. There's cheese that's in there, and other dry goods. What are you guys looking for?
We typically go for the milk, eggs, cheese whenever they have it. They sometimes give us
What the fuck are these questions, man? Me when I show up at a food bank, you getting flour? Are you getting flour? You getting eggs? Wow.
Frozen meat like chicken, beef, that kind of stuff. We go for that. And we really like to get the green beans, because we can give that to our dogs.
Yeah, very good. That's in there as well. Chicken is in there as well. Why are pantries like this? Why, in your opinion, why do you think that that's so important?
It's really helpful, because especially whenever you see on the Fort Hood pages, everybody's always looking for food and they don't know about these resources. So we definitely like to give them that awareness that there are a lot of food banks here, and this is a really good one that we like to go to help out families, especially when you have...
Can you imagine waiting in this line to get food in the US of A in 2025? Jesus fucking Christ, man.
Big families, we're only 2 and we're struggling, so I can't imagine what families with more people are struggling with.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here. We really, really appreciate it. And there's all sorts of food that is happening inside that food pantry, so members can go.
Listen, this is a local reporter, okay? So I'm not dogging on her. And I like her clothing item. I don't know what that is. Shirt. Blouse? I don't know. I don't know. Possibly in response to this this embarrassment, apparently Trump is directing money to pay troops despite the shutdown without Congress's approval. I'm not sure where he's pulling the money from.
Well, to Washington now, where President Trump has ordered his defense secretary to continue paying military service members despite the ongoing government shutdown. Julie Sirkin is at the White
Using R&D funds in the DoD? Okay.
House. And Julie, given the shutdown, where is that money coming from?
Savannah, President Trump says he will pay troops on October 15th without Congress's help. I'm told by 2 sources directly familiar, the White House notified lawmakers they are shifting funds around to do it. It comes as more than 1 million Americans who work for the federal government are without pay tonight, and thousands more bracing for layoffs. And speaking of the military, a federal appeals court tonight blocking the president from deploying National Guard on the streets of Chicago and nearby towns. But the judge is letting the administration keep troops there under federal control for now.
Not her.
And Julie, we've also got medical updates on both President Trump and former President Biden. What are you hearing?
Yeah, Biden's got ass cancer. He's doing ass radiation. We've identified funds to do this. Secretary Hegseth will use them to pay our troops. A spokesperson for the OMB confirmed to NBC News that it plans to use the research and development funds and that there are 2 years worth of funds available within the Department of Defense. Yeah, if you liquidate every other department, what? If you direct the money that goes to the Pentagon exclusively to paying the troops, then you have a lot longer, but the money is used for other things. That's not discretionary. It does show how desperate they are, though, to not make the military too angry. I don't think it's working, though. They're pissing off the rank and file. They're pissing off the brass with the fucking Hegseth speech. Coming up on 3 goddamn weeks in the shutdown. Well, coming up on beginning the 3rd week, I should say. Sheesh. Privatizing commissaries, I'm sure that'll go down well. Oh, yeah. Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
court filing said that more than 4,000 federal workers would be fired during this shutdown. Well, breaking this morning, a White House official confirms to ABC News that that figure is just a snapshot in time. Those numbers will rise. And as this government shutdown is now in its 12th day, President Trump says he's directing Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth to use all available funds to pay members of the military on October 15th. Some 2 million military service members are part of that essential federal employee group required to keep working through the shutdown. A spokesperson for the Office of Management and Budget tells ABC News that funds for these checks are coming from the Department of War's Research and Development. Meanwhile, the Trump administration has begun firing other federal workers, an unprecedented move, the biggest cuts coming from the Treasury Department and Health and Human Services.
We'll see how long it goes on. So far, to my knowledge at least, there have been no moves towards resolving this shutdown. So, I don't know, man. We could be here for a while. They're not even meeting? Good. Keep it up. I don't fucking care.
And while President Trump is overseas for the peace deal here in the U.S., there is still unrest in 2 major cities as people protest the administration's mass deportation efforts and deployment of National Guard troops. News Nation's Alicia Nieves has been tracking the developments in Chicago and in Portland. Alicia, what are we learning?
Yeah, I mean, it was quite another night of unrest around the country with these protests continuing. We'll start in Chicago. There was a march there, more than 300 people from a church to Broadville ICE facility that we've been focusing on and covering for a couple of weeks here now. The goal was to pray with detainees there. That did not happen. Around 5:30 p.m. instead, Illinois State Police declared an unlawful assembly, demanding that protesters get out of the road. This led to an arrest of at least 7 people. Authorities say 2 protesters at least threw objects toward the police in response. Then if we move to Portland, at least 3 women were arrested outside of an ICE facility there after yet another night of protests. This comes as more federal aid.
Fucking despise media coverage. You cannot overstate my hatred for these people, man. 7 arrests, at least 7 arrests, is a violent action. Why were arrests conducted? What did they do to be arrested? The only incidents of violence that she focuses on is 2 rocks were thrown. Okay. A minimum of 7 people were arrested. Anything there? No violence was conducted? Did they just politely ask a minimum of 7 people to come along with them to be detained and they just agreed?
At least threw objects toward the police.
Oh, sorry, not even rocks. Objects.
Response. Then if we move to Portland, at least 3 women were arrested outside of an ICE facility there after yet another night of protests. This comes as more federal agents arrived to the facility last night. One thing that made this standoff different, though, is that there was no ICE helicopters in the sky like we've seen in the past, and this might be because of this flyer. The Department of Homeland Security shared it on X, and it alleges that protesters were planning to use laser pointers to confuse or potentially even disorient pilots. We are anticipating more protests to continue tonight throughout the week.
Again, although the framing here is exclusively one of ICE being besieged by the violent protesters. No energy, no attention is being paid towards the violence of ICE. Everything ICE does is defensive or reactive, okay? ICE arrested people after an unlawful assembly was declared. Okay, why was it unlawful? What were they doing that was unlawful? What about the assembly was a problem? You know, no mention given. We just assume that they were in the right for calling it unlawful when there has to be a reason declared. You can't just declare it unlawful for no reason. No question being, you know, to whether or not it's a valid for the ICE copters to be in the air to begin with. Only the act of violence against them, the laser pointers, are to be considered.
And another No King's Day protest that is planned for next weekend as well, Hannah.
And there's a recent court ruling. It's put the administration's deployment of National Guard troops at least on hold temporarily. What's the latest there?
Yeah, I think this is something that even confused me for a while. A lot of people have questions about this. Why are troops there? How are they able to stay with this court ruling? Let me break this down a little bit. The National Guard is allowed to stay in Illinois, but an appeals court has blocked the president from actually deploying them on the streets, at least for the next 2 weeks. Earlier this week, you had Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker celebrating this ruling, posting on X, quote, "Donald Trump is not a king and his administration is not above the law. However, to be clear here again, the appeals court specified that those 500 troops in the Chicago area, 300 federalized from Illinois, 200 brought in from...
State police arrest those people? Yeah, state police are the ones who can declare an unlawful assembly because they're the ones with jurisdiction in that way. But that's what I mean. Like, why is no attention being paid to that? Look, once you pay enough attention to American media, there are Israels everywhere for those with the eyes to see. You see it with Israel, you know? A bullet collision-related incident annihilates brain of Palestine. You see the bias when it's applied so obviously in an external context, but there are so many implicit biases that are in favor of the police and the administration and the institutions and so on that are difficult to recognize unless you get good at it or you sniff them out. But the way these broadcasts are structured are not accidental. She is reading from a teleprompter. They're always reading from a teleprompter unless, you know, you can tell when they're not. The way they are written is very, very, very deliberate.
Texas, they do not have to leave just yet. They have to just shift their intentions for now. Here's what I mean. U.S. Northern Command said on Wednesday that these troops are, quote, employed to protect U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and other U.S. personnel, government personnel who are performing federal functions, including the enforcement of federal law and to protect federal property. Well, it has since modified that statement, right, issuing another one clarifying that these troops are simply, quote, conducting, planning, and training, not engaging in operational activities. A similar ruling was issued in Portland this week as well, allowing troops to remain federalized in Oregon, but barring, again, the president from deploying them. So we're definitely expecting to see more protests.
Thank you for watching.
Fuck you. Well, I guess it's News Nation, so what can you expect? Hello, Chris Cuomo. Enjoyed your Adam Friedland show interview. I want to know more about this. I wonder how long the blocked deployment is going to...
I'm Jackie Bang.
He's just a dumbass centrist? No, Chris Cuomo is a really smart guy. You can tell in the interview. Unfortunately, it's really difficult to tell sometimes because I think the way mass media or mainstream media produces its slop kind of dumbs everyone down, the producers and the consumers. But Chris Cuomo isn't... He's not stupid. You can tell. You can listen to him for a second in any kind of candid conversation. He's obviously an intelligent person. Which makes him a little bit scarier, to be honest.
WGN's Christine Flores is live in Broadview with our top story. Christine?
News Nation is owned by Nexstar, so they're doing their best to acquiesce to the Trump admin for their merger approval. It's always like that, isn't it? It's always fucking like that, man. It's like all mainstream media, it's all fucking run by 3 people. They're all under the same thumbs. What if Trump just ignored the court order? Wouldn't be the first time. Well, it's tough to say. It's pretty tough to ignore a judge's ruling because things can escalate rapidly from there, and the rule of law favors the judge, which means that a lot of institutions surrounding the judge will also favor the judge. If Trump ordered the National Guard deployed to the streets of Chicago in spite of the ruling, there are a couple of points of failure, right? For one, the National Guard itself could decline, declaring it an unlawful order. That's not super likely, realistically, but it could happen. And they would be legally in the right to do that. They don't have to follow unlawful orders. That would be an unambiguously unlawful order. So there's that. And if the National Guard were deployed anyway, the judge would be within their right to pursue legal retribution, through the marshals. But also, it could lead to conflicts with local police who, can't arrest people under federal jurisdiction, but they wouldn't go after the National Guard. They would probably, Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I don't know what a federal circuit court could meaningfully do to punish the president for deploying the National Guard. In a system that works properly, it would lead immediately to impeachment and the marshals going after him. But obviously, that's not the world we live in. It would be very difficult to protest, considering the whole military deployment to a major American city. What are you gonna do?
We're heading to Chicago because we want to save Chicago. Do you know they had over
What's with the
4,000 people
music?
killed in Chicago?
Brought crime down precipitously. The president.
J.B. Pritzker, Governor Pritzker, thank you for joining us this morning. I know you just heard Vice President Vance.
Bro, your tabs?
He didn't
You're right,
directly
you're right.
answer whether he agreed with President Trump that you've committed a crime, but what he did say was it seems pretty criminal to him, your behavior. What's your response?
Well, you just heard a tidal wave of lies from the Vice President of the United States. It's a bit shocking, and you heard over and over again him just making things up on national television with you. You know, there's a reason why the judge here in federal court said that the administration lacks credibility, and why.
Man, I'm sorry. He will never have the fire, man. Does he have the sauce yet? No, he doesn't. Like, look, okay, he's better than a lot of other options, but he's just nowhere close in terms of the energy and vitriol, you know?
Even the Nobel Prize Committee chair said that the administration lacks integrity. This administration, led by a 34-time convicted felon, is threatening to jail people that are their political opponents. They're making things up to go after people. We're seeing it day in and day out. And the fact that he's made a threat against me, I'm not afraid. I'm going to stand up for the people of my state. And we've got to all stand together, because there is truly unconstitutional actions that are coming out of this administration, coming at the states and the people of the United States. And all of us, Democrats and Republicans, need to speak out about it. One thing I'd point out, you mentioned Governor Stitt, who said specifically, like, we shouldn't be federalizing troops in one state and sending them into another, that he would be offended if I had troops going into his state. I am offended that Greg Abbott has troops coming into my state. And even Governor Scott in Vermont has called this unconstitutional. So good news, Republicans are now calling out the Trump administration. More should do so.
As you know, President Trump called for the prosecution of James Comey. It happened. He called for the prosecution of Letitia James, and it happened. He said you committed a crime. Are you worried the Justice Department is going to come after you?
It's true that the president says things, and sometimes he follows through on those threats, and he certainly has the power of the presidency. He does not have the power to overcome the Constitution. And so am I afraid? I am not afraid. Do I think that he could do it? He might. But as I've said before, come and get me. I mean, you're dead wrong, Mr. President and Mr. Vice President. And I will stand up for the law and the Constitution. That's what
he shouldn't even be calling them Mr. President. Like, it's a rhetorical failure on so many levels. I don't know what people need, what Democratic leadership needs to understand. The average Democrat voter is seeing red. Like, we don't need to. Listen, we're past this era. There's no need for civility. You can call him whatever the fuck you want. Call him a fat loser. He's called you fat. He's called you fat a bunch of times. And you're both, like, equally fat. You're the same amount of fat. But yeah, he's more of a pedophile than you are, I assume, I hope, I imagine. The evidence suggests. Call him whatever you want. It's all equal. It's all legal. What are you going to do? Make him more mad at you? Who the fuck cares? His response should just be, I'm not afraid of a pedophile. I'm not afraid of Trump because I'm not a 12-year-old girl. Yeah, just perfect. You would make international headlines with that one, by the way. Say it, drop the mic, and fortify your governor's residence with the Illinois State Guard. Okay? Just like fucking. For context, this is how Greg Abbott talked about Pritzker.
And he's talking about hot dog food and the Milwaukee Brewers. No wonder he's a massive failure. No wonder. Did you see what Pete Hegseth said? He said that Pritzker needs to stop complaining and do some push-ups.
You can always count on the secretary.
That's great. He called you fat. Call Trump fat. Why I don't understand why they still adhere to this. I'm sorry. I consider it to be like this isn't just like me being vindictive. I think it's a strategic failure for which the Democrats need to be rightfully criticized. This is not just like an aesthetic thing, okay? we need right now is main character energy, okay? Newsom doesn't have it. Newsom pays some intern to be feral on Twitter, and then what? Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, and all of a sudden Newsom puts out a fucking, you know, biopic where he's like, well, Charlie Kirk was actually an excellent young man, and I would have his ghost on my podcast if I could. Fuck you. You're a fake demon. You ain't real, okay? Should have had the intern write that. And Pritzker, look, unlike Newsom, I like Pritzker. I do. But we need main character energy. Yeah, AOC made fun of Miller for being short. That's great. It obviously pissed Miller off, too. He's just too Midwestern. No, Midwesterners can be more mean than this, okay? I know that because there are Midwestern Republicans. She apologized for it, though? Really? Why? I agree, however, there are a bunch of leftists who might see that name-calling as rude. No, there aren't. No, there aren't. There are no real people on Earth who hate Trump who would be upset if Pritzker called Trump fat. These people don't exist. They're not real. Oh, she apologized to short kings, but not to him. Okay, well, I still don't think she should do that, but, like, you know. You shouldn't have to apologize to fat people after you call Trump fat. There's a difference between, like, Trump being fat and Guillermo de la Cruz from What We Do in the Shadow being fat, okay? There's two, it's not even remotely the same thing. Say that name again. Guillermo de la Cruz. The libs will get mad because it's not serious and unprofessional. No, I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. I think we're past that point. I think that's a myth that we're perpetuating because we see Democratic leadership act that way. We see Democrats in media and in office act this way, so we assume it's like they're speaking for all liberals. But keep in mind that the Democratic establishment is more unpopular with liberals than they ever have been. I don't know. Liberals are the weak ones, leftists want blood at this point. Nope, again, you're wrong. Stop. The average liberal voter in the United States right now has opinions on the Republican Party that I can't repeat on this channel. They are Fed posting? They are Fed posting. What was that thing I retweeted from Red Black Salamander? I used to canvass for Bernie in towns like this, and 80-year-old grandmas would offer you homemade cider while they explained how Mount Rushmore should be replaced with a pyramid of Republican skulls. Yeah. New England. Look, okay, I have been an advocate for liberals coalition building with lefties basically since day one, okay? I think that liberals should, when necessary, bend the knee, like they should have in 2016 to Bernie Sanders, rather than doing everything they could to axe him, you know? I think that at the end of the day, in addition to the, you know, desirable victory of socialism in the long run, we need to win against Republicans. And, in light of that, right, we have to work together when necessary. This is a moment, I think, where we need to give the liberal voting majority their credit so as not to make strategic mistakes, right? We don't want to be stupid with this, okay? Liberals hate Trump. Hate Trump. The moderate liberal is a fantasy cultivated online to appeal largely to Republicans. These people don't exist in real life. Overwhelmingly, they don't exist. The people who were willing to vote for the Democrats to begin with hate Trump. And behavior like Pritzker's really is it's just built on being politically educated from an era. Like, it's kind of like how a lot of people stop developing their personalities once they get married because the only reason they tried doing interesting things was to hook up with people. And now that they're married, they don't have to, so they become boring and calcify and they stop growing as a person. A lot of people, once they enter office, stop changing politically, because to these people, like, their political growth was all in the context of like being outside the game. Once they're in the game, they're locked in. Pritzker and most other Democrats in office were educated politically before Trump became like a national phenomena. They're not aware of the extent to which how much the game has changed. Pritzker doesn't spend his day-to-day interacting with, either in real life or on social media, like regular day-to-day people. I don't think they always get the moment. I think Newsom kind of understands that there's been a change in tone, which is why he's been trying to cynically appeal to those groups.
We do in the state of Illinois.
The latest federal judge has allowed troops from Texas to remain in Illinois, but said they can't be deployed in Chicago. What is the situation exactly on the ground right now?
I'm glad he's less of a Zionist than before Massagu, but it doesn't really change my point on this, The Zionist stuff just might not have come into as sharp a focus since October 7th, now that it's like the dominant political topic in all mainstream conversations at the federal level. What changed with Bernie and Mamdani? Nothing. Mamdani's quite young and was politically educated in a post-Trump America before becoming a city councilman, or a state assemblyman. And Bernie has been the exact same person for 50 years.
Well, there are federalized troops that have been sent here from Texas. They are in a federal facility. They're not allowed to come onto the streets of Chicago or our suburbs or anywhere in Illinois.
But even Mamdani generally refrains from personal attacks. Mamdani refrains from personal attacks against Trump because he's not running against Trump. He's running for the mayorship. He attacks Cuomo all the time, but he does so in a very incisive way. Like, Mamdani is very civil, but he's civil in a very aggressive way. It's not this like, first of all, Cuomo is just a washed up former governor sex pest, okay? Cuomo is not the president of the United States deploying military personnel to your city, all right? He attacks Cuomo in a tone that is befitting of Cuomo's stature. But in Pritzker's case, he is dealing with a lunatic wannabe king who's deploying soldiers and threatening for his arrest. Pritzker should be saying whatever the fuck he needs to, The gloves are off. The skin has been pulled off the hand of underneath the glove. It's a bone hand now. There is no longer any like permissible range for needed civility. You don't have to say Mr. President. You don't have to say Mr. Vice President. You don't need to say people are offended. You don't need to make appeals to hypocrisy. You don't need to argue that what he's doing is illegal. You can just call him an evil, fat, pedophile piece of shit who's deploying soldiers because he's mad that people hate him and every poll says so. Just give him every day more shit to get mad about. Make the national conversation between you and him,
According to the determination of the judge. We have also troops from California, not sent by California, but rather by the president when they were deterred from Oregon. So we've got two states, other states' troops, and of course the Illinois National Guard that's been federalized and under the direction of the President of the United States. None are allowed on the streets of Chicago right now because we've won the temporary restraining order and the appeal of that TRO. And we hope to continue to win. Look, we've got to rely on the courts to do the right thing.
See, again, like this rhetoric is just incredibly weak. Listen, the courts will back us because we are in the right. The president's behavior is illegal. He wants to deploy soldiers because he's mad about his tiny penis. Just what, like why appeal towards the perceived morality of the courts right now?
Realize that sometimes that's risky business, especially when some have been appointed by Donald Trump. But we've seen that even a Trump-appointed judge out in California, in the West Coast, has ruled against the administration. So I do think that their oath of office actually matters to them and that they'll make the right determinations.
But as you just heard Vice President Vance say that those troops are necessary because under your watch, under the watch of the mayor of Chicago, the streets have been given over to lawlessness. Those are his words.
Yeah, well, you know, they've said that Portland is on fire. Portland is not on fire. In Chicago, we've cut the homicide rate in half. We've got double-digit declines in all of our violent crime statistics. He says that we've got the highest...
Also, you know what would also play pretty well tonally? Just be tired of Trump's lies. Stop replying to everything with the canned, like, look, he's not incorrect here, but I think he should say, yeah, no shit, Trump lies all the time. He says literally anything. Everything he has ever said has been a lie. Constantly. Like, yeah, okay, obviously it's not true. What do you want? Why are we pretending to take it seriously? Nobody takes him seriously. Challenge the interviewer. Challenge Stephanopoulos. Wait, that's not Stephanopoulos. Why did I think that was Stephanopoulos? Oh, that is Stephanopoulos. Does he look different from how he looked like a year ago? Did he get plastic surgery or something?
Crime rate in the entire world. That's ridiculous. We're not even in the top 25 cities in the United States. And Illinois itself is the 19th safest state in the United States. I'd like to be in the top 10, but 19th is a whole heck of a lot better than Texas or Florida.
But if the president invokes the Insurrection Act, there's not much you can do, is there?
Did he not wear glasses? No, he does look like Stephanopoulos. I don't know why I'm tripping over this.
Well, the Insurrection Act is called the Insurrection Act for a reason. There has to be a rebellion. There has to be an insurrection in order for him to be allowed to invoke it. Again, he can say anything he wants, but if the Constitution means anything, and I guess we all are questioning that right now, but the courts will make the determination.
Stop appealing to the courts. Make your own statement. Say, no, there is no insurrection. Every wannabe dictator says every challenge to the rules is an insurrection. He is wrong. If he attempts to invoke the Insurrection Act, it will be illegal. Stop like this. Well, we'll have to see what the courts say. No, you don't. You don't actually legally have to defer to a court opinion to make your own statements morally or legally. The court opinion is about the behavior of the government, not about you. You can say whatever you want. You can say that.
The Constitution means anything. The Insurrection Act cannot be invoked to send them.
I hate this resignation. Well, we'll find out if the Constitution means anything. Say it does. Call Trump's behavior treasonous. Trump would act no differently if he was a foreign agent sent to destroy the United States. Our founding fathers built a democracy. He wants an autocracy. He wants to rule this place like a Gulf state, petrobillionaire. He wants the country to be run by a cabal of pedophile oligarchs who have free reign to do whatever they want, where the only economy is Bitcoin and AI data center construction, and everything else is ruin.
Because they want to fight crime. Let me add that they're claiming in court that that's not the reason that they're calling up troops to send them into our states. They're claiming in court that this is about protecting ICE facilities and ICE agents, and not about crime on the streets. But then you hear Vice President Vance and the President of the United States contravening that and saying exactly what they actually think. They just want troops on the ground because they want to militarize, especially blue cities in blue states.
Governor Pritzker, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you, George.
I just think there wouldn't be any political consequences for doing this. He has the right to do this if he wants to. He can say that stuff if he wants to. No. Don't read the comments, they're all bots. Yeah. I completely missed this. What the fuck happened in Tennessee?
Authorities searching for the missing after a deadly explosion at this Tennessee manufacturing plant.
We do have several people at this time that's unaccounted for. We are trying to be mindful of families.
5891 Highway 230 West had an explosion at Accurate Arms. Everybody is en route.
The massive blast occurring at 7:45 Friday morning at Accurate Energetic Systems.
Always in the morning. People never have the courtesy to detonate their factories like in the midday.
A facility with 80 employees that manufactured explosives.
It's probably been one of the most devastating situations that I've been on in my career.
The building completely leveled. Drone video revealing the crater where it once stood. Vehicles in the parking lot charred. The explosion felt all the way across town. This Ring camera 11 miles from the plant shows the shaking. Debris making its way nearly 4 miles away to the yard of Lauren Rourke.
The whole house shook. I looked out my bedroom window and I could just see all kinds of insulation debris just falling down. It's all over our yard, all around the house.
At least 18 people remain unaccounted for. And this morning,
I'm just going to guess that's probably because they've been reduced to like a fine mist, right? This seems, if nothing else, this seems like a pretty quick death. Yeah, I don't, I mean, small comfort, but, you know.
authorities still combing through the building debris for survivors.
Okay, I know they're not really combing for survivors, probably, right? They're combing for remains to identify bodies. Maybe
Our
there's like a
town
basement.
is a really small town. Just about everyone is probably affected right now because everybody knows somebody that works over there or is, you know, family. And so everybody is hurting.
Does suck, though. I don't think those guys are, like, morally culpable for whatever was done with their bombs. I don't really think. I don't know, do I? Nah, I don't. Because once you get into that, it's like anytime you do anything in America, you're contributing to the military-industrial complex. I guess there's kind of, like, degrees of separation, but, yeah, I don't know.
Well, again, the investigation continues this morning. The search for the missing, as well as just trying to figure...
Holy shit, this guy's layered the fuck up. Look at this guy. He's like an onion. Undershirt. Shirt. Another shirt with a band collar. Jacket. God damn. Is your head cold?
Figure out exactly what caused this blast. That investigation is expected to last at least a few more days, just in terms of the investigation on the ground here. ATF agents as well as Homeland Security agents on scene assisting in that investigation, and residents, of course, are asked to stay away for now, Whit.
Yeah, so many questions and a devastating...
All right, well. While we're talking about explosions...
The clock is ticking in the
Thanks
Middle
for
East. Hamas has 72 hours to release the Israeli hostages. Authorities believe 20 are living, 27
He does
are
look
dead.
like a Ralph Lauren
This is
ad,
according
yeah.
to Trump's plan. Israeli forces are withdrawing from parts of the Gaza Strip right now as thousands of displaced Palestinians are attempting to move back into what were their neighborhoods. 33 bodies were discovered in the rubble of Gaza City.
Speaking of CNN, they're manufacturing consent the moment things begin again. Hamas asserts control in Gaza and targets alleged collaborators as ceasefire takes hold. Wow, really? That's shocking. The government of Gaza takes hold, and the collaborators, i.e. people working with the people genociding them, are being targeted. Do you think Israel wouldn't do the same thing? Like, that's just a normal thing that would happen here. I don't know. Hamas's internal security forces were pictured in the streets of Gaza City on Saturday. There have been multiple reports of clashes between the group and clans opposing it in recent days. It's got to be a fucking nightmare over there right now. Jesus Christ. A number of collaborators and informants were apprehended and arrested in Gaza City after it was proven they were involved in spying for the enemy, as well as participating in the assassination of several resistance members. The Palestinian Home Front, a Telegram channel affiliated with Hamas, said Sunday. Wait. Participating in the assassination of several resistance members. Wait, so they're going after people who killed Hamas? Wouldn't you expect them to do that? The number of official deaths about to skyrocket now that they can search the rubble of all those buildings. It'll take ages, but also a lot of people's bodies have probably been atomized. The only thing that will really reveal the extent of the damage will be like a full census, so you can do an excess mortality report. I don't know, Vosh. Hamas pretty frequently accuses anyone if they don't like, including members of non-Hamas resistance groups, of being collaborators so they can execute them. Yeah, I mean, in fairness, the IDF does the same thing, but in reverse, but at a much larger scale. Yeah, Hamas isn't good, but like, you know, it turns out you don't actually stabilize the Middle East by bombing the shit out of it. We learn this in every other country, you know. We learn this in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then ISIS came about. So I don't know what the fuck you expected. No doubt these acts of brutality committed by Hamas are going to be used by Western media as a perceived justification for the IDF remaining in areas that they said they wouldn't remain in, or continuing to impose limitations and restrictions and blah, 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 blah. Fucking CNN, man. Hamas has long held an iron grip over Gaza that continued even into the war. CNN has reported on Hamas executing and maiming alleged looters. He reported on Israel just gunning down civilians trying to get at aid. Iron grip. The average American supports the state executing American looters going after American goods after Katrina, after a fucking hurricane, you know? I don't... Ugh. For the framing. The framing. Most predictable outcome, Smotrich openly saying they'll continue bombing the second they get their hands on the hostages. Yeah, I'm not reading all that. Free Palestine. We'll hear the Mehdi Hassan summary. I said yesterday my biggest fear is that Israel uses this deal to get back the remaining hostages, then restarts the bombing and genocide, and here is the Israeli finance minister confirming that is exactly what he wants. Well, there you go. Never translate a Hebrew tweet. Unfortunately, Grok auto-translates now. Great fear of the consequences of emptying prisons and releasing the next generation of terror leadership, which will do everything to continue spilling rivers of Jewish blood, God forbid. This is in reference to thousands of Palestinians held without charge in torture cells, many of them women and children. A tremendous responsibility to ensure this is not, God forbid, a deal of, quote, hostages in exchange for stopping the war, as Hamas thinks and boasts, and that immediately after the hostages return home, the state of Israel will continue to strive with all its might for the true eradication of Hamas and the genuine disarmament of Gaza so that it no longer opposes a threat to Israel. Well, yeah, we'll see how far that goes. You won't see a CNN article on that shit.
Earlier today, according to a hospital director. Though the ceasefire does appear, as of this hour, to be holding, there remain huge questions for the near...
You'll note, by the way, CNN is only talking about the hostages to be released from Hamas and their bodies, and not the thousands and thousands and thousands of uncharged Palestinians being held by Israel.
Distant future about the fraught Israel-Palestine relationship. For the first time, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today implied that not all of the killed hostages that remain in Gaza might be returned.
Please, anyone but Tapper covering it. Did you see that Ben? What was his name? Ben something. What was the guy? The CNN fella who was like laughing and joking. Dead Palestinian kid, or dead Gaza child. Dead Gaza child. Dead Gaza child. That one. What was his name again? Van Jones. Right, not Ben. Van Jones.
While the Israeli military spokesperson says they're, quote, well prepared to go back into combat, unquote, with Hamas if the terrorist group retains control of Gaza. President Trump is expected to arrive in Israel on Monday as the first few points of his 20-point ceasefire and peace plan become reality. Joining us now to discuss is the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon. Mr. Ambassador, thanks for joining us. After Hamas releases the hostages and Israel releases the Palestinian prisoners, after that comes point 6 of President Trump's 20-point plan. Point 6 reads, quote, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence and to decommission their weapons will be given amnesty. Members of Hamas who wish to leave Gaza will be provided safe passage to receiving countries.
Definitely not happening. The clip? What clip? Clip if you want to show it? You linked me the wrong thing. This is a Zionist saying, why don't we tattoo a Star of David on the forehead of every terrorist we have to release, my daughter, proud father. That's a different thing. That's just the least Hitlerite Israeli.
Unquote. That is obviously easier written than done. What will Israel do if Hamas does not lay down their...
Whoopsie. Okay, here we go.
But isn't part of that because we had to fold everything into critical race theory, and somehow the Middle East became part of, you know...
I see it differently. And I love this conversation because I think people, those of us who went to college, give a lot more credit to college courses for how the world works than I do. This is not about critical race theory on college campuses. This is about Iran. Iran and Qatar have come up with a disinformation campaign that they are running through TikTok and Instagram that is massive. If you are a young person, you open up your phone and all you see is dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby, right. Diddy, dead Gaza baby, dead Gaza baby. Like, that's basically your whole feed. So
it's Bill Maher's audience, you know, you can expect that kind of response, I suppose. No, the argument here is literally that, like, the genocide in Gaza is Iranian disinformation. Like, the tiny broke state of Iran is spending billions and billions of dollars getting an uncountable number of independent content creators and regular people all over the West to either manufacture or share evidence of suffering being caused by Israel, you know? It's JQ stuff, just not J. It's IQ stuff, but not IQ. It's the other IQ stuff. It's the same logic as the JQ, essentially. They are fascists wearing the mantle of liberalism. You know, they will commit unspeakable acts and then invent whatever mythology is necessary to justify and excuse them. It's sickening. It really is.
Arms or leave.
Well, Jack, everyone in Israel is holding their breath for the release of the hostages in the next 72 hours, and we hope it will start even tomorrow. But I agree with you, that will be the easy part, because it is very clear what we are receiving, what we are giving in exchange. The complex part will be the implementation of the second phase, the demilitarization of Gaza. And, you know, we know that we are dealing with Hamas. That is why the withdrawal of the forces of the IDF is gradual. What we did last night, we pulled back, but not completely out of the Gaza Strip. So we will still be there, and we will follow what's happening there. I hope that they will comply with the agreement, that they will actually lay down their arms and allow international forces to take over and to start the reconstruction of Gaza, the radicalization of Gaza. But we will still be around, watching very carefully what's happening.
Point 9 of President Trump's 20-point plan establishes President Trump as the head of a, quote, board of peace. That board will oversee a temporary transitional government in Gaza. Has any part of that process started yet? And if not, who's in charge in Gaza right now?
Wait. Van Jones, 1993.
Now, if students can do that in 1960, if students can do that in 1970, if students can do that in 1985 and 86, in 1993, when we have the United States government building a death camp, a concentration camp, for black people who has done nothing wrong but get
It's actually Van Jones.
sick and want justice. That's all they've done wrong. If we can't close that death camp, if this generation cannot prevent another Japanese American internment in our lifetime, we should all get haircuts and go get regular jobs and give it up.
It looks like him. Yeah, but you guys are racist, so you wouldn't be able to tell the difference anyway. Seems like he changed his mind. Yeah, I suppose so.
No, as of now, it's still a chaos. You know, it's a war zone. It's chaotic. I think now they are in the process of collecting the hostages and preparing the release of the hostages and also receiving the terrorists. You know, one part of the agreement, which is a very painful one, that we will release thousands of terrorists in the next coming days. So now they are working on the arrangements to receive those terrorists back into Gaza. I think, you know, we will have to rely on the international community. And that is why President Trump, you know, is also speaking with other leaders to think about the day after. Who will actually send forces, who will contribute knowledge management forces in order to govern in Gaza.
Sorry, I just realized I actually don't want to listen to this guy at all. Sorry. Please make fun of the voice. I don't know how much of that is accent. I grew up around a bunch of people who could speak Hebrew, but they were all like Persian Jews, like Iranian, so their accent was totally different. I have no idea what like mix of accents contributes to that. DeSantis was called a pedophile. Oh, this fucking account.
Hey, what's up? Hey, stop. I'm get out of here. 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 So you used to have the closed circuit. So you would go.
Isn't that old? Probably. This account isn't very credible. They just post whatever gets them the most likes. Lately, I've been seeing them posting a bunch of stuff from like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens being like, you see these neo-Nazis criticizing the Trump administration for being too pro-Israeli? It looks like the coalition is falling apart. Oh yeah, it was doing that with Marjorie Taylor Greene as well.
I've been here in Washington all week, and I've been at my office. I've been in the Capitol. There's two things I couldn't find this week. I couldn't find anywhere the Epstein files, and I also couldn't find the Republican plan to fix the absolutely destroyed health insurance industry that got wiped out in 2015 with Obamacare.
Yeah.
Like, those are the two things I can't find. And when Republicans, and I'm criticizing also Congress big time. I'm really grateful to a lot of the things the president is doing, but I'm really upset with the direction Congress is going. But when we
she's getting off the MAGA ship. Well, no, she's kind of just doing the online radicalization neo-Nazi thing. Like, she's just leaning into it more. She's not principally opposing the Republicans in any way. She's still far right. She's just moving farther to the right. She's extremely susceptible to like online radicalization.
We are not doing anything to address the cost of living. We aren't doing anything about Blackstone buying up houses where most young people can't find a house and they're having to compete in bidding wars.
By the way, can we stop that shit? Can people stop acting like BlackRock and Blackstone and all of these like land acquisition, private equity, blah-de-blah firms are responsible for housing prices? You mean BlackRock? No, BlackRock and Blackstone are both things she could have said there. Can we stop pretending that they're the reason why? They combined own like 0.15% of property. They're like selectively part of the problem in certain areas. The vast majority of private property is owned by people who own between 1 and 10 properties, you know? It's just zoning fuckery. It's zoning fuckery, and we don't build enough houses. They're still they're very evil corporations, absolutely. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying they're not. We need to know what the problem is.
Right.
And we're not doing anything about health insurance premiums, then for the love of God, what are we doing?
Right.
Vosh would have banned your ass for saying that like 2 months ago, Lamau. Me? Wait, who? What? For me saying that? I've been on this for a while. I've never blamed like individual well, I can't say never. They are part of the problem. I just think a lot of people act as though they're the whole problem. Are you sure about that? Pretty sure. Well, first of all, I reserve the right, morally, to change my mind on issues as I learn new information. But second of all, no, I'm pretty sure that I've always been an advocate for just build more houses and fix zoning. Also, so you also absolutely want an empty house tax, you know, if the land isn't being used. And also, there is a broader issue with houses being used as speculation, but that is not just like a BlackRock, Blackstone thing. That's like an everyone thing. Everyone's using housing as speculation. Everyone talks about it. Oh, flip your house, your starter house, blah, blah, blah. Everyone treats it like a thing that you sit on until it accumulates value. What happened if you bought a house and its value didn't accumulate? Is that a waste? You got to fucking live in it. Oh yeah, here's your woke left, anti-MAGA Marjorie Taylor Greene. No barcodes on me. I'll never take 30 shekels. I'm America only, and Christ is king. I thought BlackRock was a mercenary group. No, that's Blackwater, right? I've seen a lot of lefties glaze Candace Owens ever since she started her rebrand. Yeah, guys, I really do not think that anti-Semitism is anywhere near as much of a problem on the left as some would claim it is. I think it's a problem in the same way that I think lots of things can be problems in lots of places. I just don't think it's super particular to the left. Don't prove me wrong on that.
At the same time, the relentless bombing of the Palestinian people, and many of them have been just innocent people. They're not Hamas. They're literally women and children, and you can't unsee the amount of pictures and videos of children that have been blown to pieces and are they're finding them dead in the rubble. That isn't, those aren't actors. That isn't fake war propaganda. It's very real. And I think that is equally horrific. I want to see an end to it, and I think most Americans do.
Can you explain how building houses is the answer, Vosh? I don't understand. Well, the price of most commodities is based on a supply-demand curve, right? So if you make the supply of housing greater, the price goes down because the supply is greater. So it can no longer be held and speculated to a higher value, you know? It's like how if there was one t-shirt, then it's worth $10,000 because there's just one of them and it's super cool and you get to exclusively have it. But if they make 1 million of them and put them in every Target across the country, then it's like $5. But there are more houses than homeless people. That's a fake stat. Like a lot of the houses that are empty that people are referring to there are dilapidated rural buildings that are literally like their roofs are caved in, or properties that are currently like being renovated so that they can be leased to a new, like that's not a real thing. Like here, me, a homeless person who was living in the streets of LA, being sent into rural Idaho to occupy the hunting cabin that has like 10,000 spiders per cubic foot. Now it's, you know, it's not, vacancy rates are quite low. We just need to de-financialize the housing market. It's the only solution. You could just eat the spiders. That's true. Are cubic feet a real measurement? Nobody knows. We would need to almost double the housing supply to allow every individual to own their own home. Well, thankfully, a lot of people live in families, so. Research stream into how other countries do housing. They build houses. They build them. Rather than not building them, they build them. It's deceptively simple. Japan builds 300% more new houses per capita than the US, and Japan has a shrinking population. I really think all you need to do is open up the red tape to allow for more construction, and you need to build... zoning needs to be improved so that we're not building like endless single-family houses, and we need to be comfortable building more commercial cores, more like downtown areas, basically. You can't keep having like one city that's been around for 300 years where everyone, all the interesting stuff is in one fucking place. And then you just keep building like more and more spaced out housing the farther and farther and farther out you need to go. Like no matter where in a city you are, you should always be able to walk over to an area where there's a bunch of robust businesses. And this isn't even about fulfilling some kind of gay hipster urbanism paradise. It's just economically feasible. It's the only thing we can we literally cannot afford to maintain all of the roads that we've built. A bunch of cities and counties are going bankrupt all over the country because they can't afford to maintain the infrastructure that they built. Isn't this just the core of abundance? I gotta be real, okay? Abundance did not invent the idea of limiting red tape and building more houses. People have been calling for this. They're called urbanists, and they've been calling for this for decades. Abundance is just a liberal rebrand to try to distract you from voting for Mamdani. Wow. No. Maybe we shouldn't give up fire safety, though. I don't think we have to. It's mostly like, I don't fucking know, environmental review bullshit and zoning laws. You seen a zoning map for Los Angeles? Yeah, that big bill that passed in California. What is it? The YIMBY bill? What an incredible 12 hours in housing. Homes are no longer banned near transit in California for the first time in decades. That's right. There was a statewide law banning the construction of houses near transit. Why? Wouldn't people like to live near transit? No. For some reason. They can drive to the transit. After 3 tries, SB 827, SB 50, and SB 79, that's the one that passed. The YIMBY movement has won. Work remains. We still have to get back down the mountain, but this is the summit. Yeah. What does NIMBY even mean? Not in my backyard. Look at this shit, man. Los Angeles zoning map. Makes me want to fucking punch my own ticket. Oh. Yellow is single family residential. Man, look at the valley. North of the mountains. Look at this shit. Look at this. Unbelievable. Well, let's look at like actual LA for a while. Was it orange is multifamily residential, red is commercial. Look at how infrequent red is in a lot of these places. And don't be fooled, by the way. Commercial means not just shops you go to, but like office buildings, okay? Here's Pico Boulevard. As a former resident of Los Angeles, I can tell you, Pico Boulevard, Wilshire, most of the commercial zoning here, you're not walking to. First of all, Wilshire is a nightmare infinity street that can only be crossed with a prayer and a quick sprint, okay? And even then, it takes 30 seconds. 57 cars per nanosecond zooming past your ears, no cover whatsoever from the sun, from the wind, from the noise. You don't want to be on Wilshire. And these are all office buildings. They're not like shops, you know? They're not like shops to walk to. God, look at this. Look at all the yellow. Oh, here's some fun. Look at this. See all this yellow over here? This is around UCLA. Oh, wouldn't you want to have like multifamily zoning areas? Like, I don't know, like apartment buildings near a university where there might be students who don't fit within the dorms that are typically limited usually to first years and second years? Nah. Jesus Christ. If you take out all of the red here that is office buildings, the amount of places you can actually walk to in this area is vanishingly small. Incredibly small. In fact, I can tell you, places you actually want to walk to that are on screen right now. It's a shame they took my beautiful hometown, Beverly Hills, out. All of West Hollywood is pretty walkable. I'll give them credit there, okay? And there are a lot of areas over here in Hollywood that you can find cool stuff to walk to if you don't mind being harassed by / assaulted by crazy homeless people, okay? But outside of that, once you get out of this like chunk right here, here you enter the shit zone, okay? Koreatown, stricken with homelessness and poverty and despair, and everything looks terrible and smells terrible, but they do have good restaurants. But this whole area right here, be not fooled. La Brea, office buildings. Wilshire, office buildings. Pico, La Cienega, Olympic, office buildings, okay? What here do you actually want to walk to? What do you want to go to? Like to spend money, to shop? You got to drive. You got to drive. Anyway, hopefully this picks things up a little bit. Considering how large Los Angeles is, you would think it'd have a population of like 20 million. So people only really walk around West Hollywood and Beverly Hills? No, they don't walk around Beverly Hills. West Hollywood, yes. I'm not joking. Any residents of LA want to attest to this? How often do you see people walking down Wilshire? I'm serious. Anyone in LA? Any LAers? Los Angelinos? Anyone want to confirm? No one wants to confirm. City of 50 billion people. No one wants to confirm. I grew up in Pico Robertson. Yes, you're right. Yeah. People don't walk. Is it just the boardwalk? It might be difficult to tell. It's probably difficult to tell because Los Angeles is so large. This whole place that we're looking at right here is the size of the United States of America. I know it might seem like it's not. You might think otherwise. This is actually the largest urban area that is ever. This is Coruscant, basically. This is an impossibly large city. You're not walking anywhere. I'll tell you a walking distance, okay? Here's Venice Beach. If you can walk from, listen, Venice Beach all the way over here to Overland, this is like, you're like a Sherpa guiding foreigners up from the base of the Everest mountain range, okay? You need to pack, you need like those square backpacks that have like the bedroll and the you need like the rations, you need like fucking sticks of butter to maximize your calorie intake per bite. Yeah, it's a death march. I've never been to LA, but in GTA 5 there's foot traffic everywhere, so I assume GTA has misinformed me. That's correct. There is no foot traffic in most of Los Angeles because it's horrible, horrible, horrible to walk through. You forced my hand. We have no choice but to do another Google Maps segment. 1 second. Now, it's worth noting, by the way. I need an image of this, okay? Just for comparison, just so everyone knows, here are the 5 boroughs of New York City over Los Angeles. As you can see, all of Manhattan is just a tiny, tiny sliver of Los Angeles. Just remember the size comparison, okay? Los Angeles is absolutely enormous. Yeah, it's much larger than you thought. I'm willing to bet. All right. Bring it in. Here we go. Los Angeles. Here you go. It's the city you can quite easily see from space. You know? This whole chunk right here, you can see it. Look at a photo of Earth from space. It's very, very, very large. So yeah, here let's go down to Wilshire. You know, we'll go to Wilshire and Beverly Hills. Where is it? I don't know. I don't know where anything is. Where's Wilshire? Here's Wilshire. There we go. Wilshire Boulevard. My beautiful, my beloved. How are we doing today? There we go. This is the nice part of Wilshire. We're in Beverly Hills. There's Saks Fifth Avenue. Nice and famous. Look at that. Oh, there's a subway. There's a subway. That's nice. That's nice. Okay, let's go a little farther down. Past Rexford. There we go. Now we're in Los Angeles. Ah, this Chase Bank. This is what I thought urbanism used to be, by the way. I used to think this Chase Bank that has the statues out front, I was like, how lucky I am to live in a beautiful city where you can find statues and like a mural and stuff. Now we begin the long death march. Now, if we go far enough down Wilshire, we're headed east right now. Go to Rodeo Drive. I'll go to Rodeo Drive when I want to go to Rodeo Drive, okay? Here we go. Now, this is the character of Wilshire for most of its path through Los Angeles. We're now outside of Beverly Hills, effectively. I mean, we're at Robertson. And as you can see, it's infinity wide. You know, a journey from here to a journey here. This is like a 2-3 hour venture. Blighted, no sidewalk cover. Of course, palm trees don't protect you at all from sound, from shade. You know, we go far enough here. Let's get over to La Brea. Where's that? Is it La Brea that has that great big intersection? Oh, look at that. No shade at all. Why would you need shade in Los Angeles, after all? What about the local climate would give you the impression? Oh, here we go. Look at that. Oh, you see, you can feel the temperature of the city rising from the asphalt. You can just feel it trapping the heat. You know, whenever I'm at this intersection right here, and this is La Cienega, whenever I'm at La Cienega and Wilshire, I really, truly feel like I'm in hell. Look at how ugly everything is. It's great, right? Oh, look at the... Yeah. Look at that. Well, we have palm trees, so, you know. Ah. Oh, look at this beautiful office park. Can you imagine having to walk to work here? Oh, there's a guy walking. I mean, he's in a construction outfit, so presumably he works over at this site, you know. Nobody walks down Wilshire if they can help it. Why are all the roads cracked? Do you have any idea how expensive it is to maintain all these roads? Maintaining roads is more expensive than building them in the first place, because once you've built them, people need to use them, so you can only close off a few lanes at a time. Besides, here they're probably doing that metro construction project they've been working on for 11 years that cost $50 trillion. Oh, here we go. We're getting close. We're getting close to my favorite intersection in the entire city. Look at all this. There we go. Isn't it a beauty? It's like Mecca for me. The classic Wilshire, La Brea, some other street. I don't know what the other street is. I forget. Intersection right here. Can we get like, I wish we could get like a proper bird's eye. I mean, we could, but I don't want to back up out of it. Yeah, there's the Big Five sporting goods. So what we have here is a, what is it, 6-way intersection, and one of the roads has a median. So it's kind of like, I think altogether there's like 30 or 40 lanes that go into here. Something like that. I don't know, maybe 100. But as you can see, crossing this place as a pedestrian, we're talking like it's an odyssey, you know? This is the modern River of Styx, in the sense that people die here, yeah. Wow, how inefficiently can you use your space? I don't know what you're talking about. The way you're talking, you're acting as though this is one of the largest and most wealthy cities in the world, and not, for example, Podunk Nowhere. Are you suggesting that land prices here might be really high and that it's insane to have a fucking place that looks like this? Oh, wait, we can find this right here. Hold on, hold on. Yeah, right here. Where are we, at Fairfax or La Brea? No, we're at La Brea, right? We're at La Brea? Yeah, right here. There we go. Look at all that nice single-family housing over here. You can see it on the map. There's one tall building here. Well, there's a couple of tall office buildings. But past that, single-family houses. Now here we are in the middle. How do you even follow? How do you even stay in the correct lane here? How do you, look at this. Where am I? Hello? What? It's like we're in fucking New Delhi or something. Jesus Christ. Now we're on the wrong side of the road somehow. There we go. Always construction, always construction. All office buildings, by the way. All this commercial, all office buildings. Oh, here's the wonderful, and I mean this sincerely, actually, the wonderful car museum. The Batmobile from the Adam West 1960s Batman show is there. Phenomenal museum. Really recommend it. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. And we've, oh, there's LACMA? This is LACMA, right? No, is it? Is it not? No. LACMA's behind or farther. There's, yeah, it is LACMA. There's LACMA. Where are the parking lots at? We've passed by quite a few of them. I don't know what the fuck this is. I haven't been here in a while. I don't know. What? Can I not go any further? Is that it? Does the city end there? Hello? I'm getting sunburned just watching this. Dude, it's so fucking bad. Crazily enough, the valley, sorry, is even worse. This is the entirety of the valley. Remember that one Los Angeles councilwoman who was against urbanization? And she was like, I'm protecting the people of my area. And the area was in the valley. And it was like, this was the historic area she was defending. Oh, baby. Now look at Seattle right now. I mean, like, Seattle does have areas that are poorly built for sure, but on average, it's way the fuck better. Way the fuck better than Los Angeles. I mean, my favorite neighborhood is probably Cap Hill, which, I mean, aided substantially by denser development and greenery. Still really expensive? Yeah. At least, like, Seattle has more of an excuse for being expensive because it's not, like, infinite sprawl that could be built upon. Los Angeles, they could easily build way more homes. In Seattle, at least, they're limited by a lot of geographic features that aren't so easy to work around. Oh yeah, here's the famous neighborhood over in Seattle. That's Cal Anderson Park, where they did CHOP. They did the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, Chaz, you know? People walk around here all the time. Still dirty, but, you know, what are you going to do? Where's the unicorn? Back down here? Where is it? Should be right here. Outfits. Is it right here? There's one block up. There it is, the unicorn. Great drag bar. Look at St. Rat. I don't think that they're going to have a picture of St. Rat. Look at Baltimore City. No, we're not going to look at Baltimore City. You're all slacking off right now, okay? It's ridiculous. I have a meeting at 3:30. You people are impeding my otherwise flawless productivity. Oh my God, what an aimless stream. What are we talking about? Why do you people donate to me? It's crazy. Okay, we're wrapping some of these fucking bits up, okay? I have no idea what I'm talking about today. Yeah, with my board of investors, exactly. All right. What does the title say? No one knows, no one cares. You see this?
I'm not president. And if you want to talk about legacy, let's talk about the legacy of mass deportation.
Hold on. First things first. Why is she drunker than any human being has ever been?
Of people not voting and Donald Trump.
Is this slowed down? No, her cadence couldn't be explained just by the video being slightly slowed down. She sounds insane.
I'm not president. And if you want to talk about legacy, let's talk about the legacy of mass deportation. Of people not voting.
Was this in Chicago? Let me see if I can find it.
Legacy is genocide! The legacy will always be genocide! You know what? I am not president of the United States. You want to go to the White House and talk to him and do that.
But the genocide was also happening when you were the vice president of the United States. So she's I think what's the group, the PRL? Those people keep following her in her book tour and accusing her of being a genocider, which she is. But this keeps happening over and over, you know? It's the PRL, right? It's always that group. PSL, yes. Yes, queen. Thank you.
Is a very strong independent. Yes. Let's support our independent friends. Let's support them. So, because you are now.
What about the press you let die in Gaza, Kamala? You said.
Holy shit, that was the wokest pronunciation of Gaza I've ever heard in my life. That was insane. I feel all of us just got mogged watching that. That was fucking consonants that are unpronounceable to American English speakers. Jesus Christ.
$20 billion to fund the genocide!
That's true.
You should be ashamed of yourself! You have killed men, women, and children! Pregnant children!
Pregnant. Oh, hold on. Let's not disparage the Palestinians quite that much. I like how the caption also said pregnant women, like correct. Yeah, it's, you know.
You fought genocide! Kamala Harris, your legacy is genocide!
Gee, I'm getting a sore throat just listening.
Killer Kamala! Killer Kamala! You are charged with genocide! You belong in the Hague! Shame on you! Shame on you! Killer Kamala!
This guy's insane. Yeah, but like he's also correct. I mean, he hasn't said anything wrong here, except for the pregnant children thing. That was a little out of pocket. But it's a heated moment. Heated moment, you know, misspoke. That's fine. I do it. Everyone does it. Why is he insane? Well, no, he just sounds insane. But that's just what people sound like when they're going sicko mode. You know, nasty freak to the wall till it drops. Shouting. What's the Hague? It's the institution people pretend matters whenever something bad happens in the world. She did cover a genocide. It's true. I mean, based to these people, they should harass her to the ends of the earth. Again, like the problem is that like Kamala right now is doing a book tour where she's trying to distance herself from Biden and essentially indicate that the Biden campaign and Biden himself prevented her from spreading her wings and flying as a candidate. But she's not actually willing to disavow or distance herself from any of the things that she defended under Biden. She's essentially trying to make herself distinct as a political. Somebody told Kamala Harris, hey, the fact that you're just a carbon copy of Biden is hurting you in the polls. And then she is trying to separate herself from Biden without actually changing a single thing about her policies or positions. You know? She's just as bought as the rest of them, though I find it difficult to imagine she could be as bad as Biden on Gaza. She might have been just out of spite, you know? I hate her. She's so annoying. That is also true. I mean, I don't know. Does anyone else feel like it's kind of weird that she hasn't apologized or taken credit or said she's made a mistake? Like, she has in a very superficial way, but she lost to Trump, and everything that has happened since has because of her loss. And she went quiet after she lost for like 6 months. Like, isn't that weird? Isn't that strange? Yeah, she's smug. She blames us. I don't like I'm just sick of this, like, look, okay? From the context of interpersonal conversation, if you're not a politician, I think it's fine to shame people for their voting. If a person didn't vote for Kamala Harris in 2024, for one, my thought here is, well, she kind of didn't do a very good job making herself appealing to the voters, which is absolutely true. But I think a person would be correct in saying, like, you should have voted for you dumb shit. Like, if you didn't vote for Kamala Harris in 2024, I think it's fine to, like, to whatever extent it even matters now, which is none at all. I think you can poke them on the shoulder and go like, yeah, obviously it wouldn't have been this fucking bad under Kamala Harris, you know? Obviously, right? Okay, sure. A little electoral shaming for fun. You know who shouldn't do it? The candidate who lost. What kind of fucking campaign strategy is it to lose a campaign and then run on a re-election campaign where you're shaming people for not having voted for you in the first place? Fuck, even Trump didn't do that. Trump didn't run in 2024 trying to browbeat and shame the people who didn't vote for him in 2020. He did it claiming he had already won in 2020 and that he was just here to do it doubly, triply more so this time so they couldn't rig it again. Please tell me she's not running again. I hate this world so much. She's probably going to run again. Was this supposed to teach her something? We know for a fact that her position on Gaza, that is to say her total non-position, her total acquiescence to the Biden administration, her refusal to depart from it, that cost her votes. The fact that her response to people's upsetness is to, like, girl boss her way through it and act as though they're the problem for having not voted for her, again, it can't be said better than this. People who won't draw the line at genocide, how do you expect them to draw the line at democracy? How does that work?
I'm not president. And if you want to talk about legacy, let's talk about the legacy of mass deportation of people not voting and
Of people not voting. Like, really? The legacy of mass deportation, comma, not voting. So, like, these are equal evils to her. They're worthy of being mentioned in the same breath. We're talking about, so somebody says your legacy is genocide, and her response is, well, now the legacy is of mass deportation and not voting? Not vote. Wait, so are you blaming the people in the audience for not voting for you despite you supporting the genocide that they're protesting you for? Or are you saying that Trump is removing people's ability to vote? Like, like, genuinely, it seems like in her mind, not like, it's spite, man. I keep saying it, and I'm right. The Democrats are contemptuous of their voters because they smugly believe that they're smarter than the Republicans and that they're better effectuators of government bureaucracy. They're better capable of steering this big, monstrous machine that is the government. They're more competent at it. And because they think they're better than the Republicans, which they are, right? They get really smug and entitled, and they think that it's every citizen's responsibility to vote for them, no matter how unpopular, uncharismatic, unlikable, or like generally off-putting they are. They think that it's already a done deal. For them, the politics part of politics is just annoying, tedious, banal. This is why they don't have a problem with Palantir. How many Democrat officials have you seen talk about Palantir? How many Democrat officials have you seen talk about the NPSM 7, the National Security Memorandum? How many Democrat officials have you seen talk about the surveillance state? That's right, because they don't care. They don't believe in any of that shit. They're fine with it. They would love it if they didn't have to deal with a democracy. Their job, and this is the Republicans' job as well, it's the same for both parties, is to run the machine and make sure that the powerful stay powerful. That's it. They're bought by donors, by corporations, by lobbyists, by oligarchs. Their job is to make sure the machinery continues to run. The democracy part of the political system is just a obnoxious bureaucratic hurdle that needs to be overcome that the Democrats don't really believe in. The Republicans are on the upper ground right now because they started to take it more seriously. Before Trump, they weren't. Now they're taking advantage of it more aggressively. They're treating it like an actual vehicle for change. Not for democratic change, mind you, but for change. So anyway, the reason she doesn't feel any need to apologize for what's happening, for the fact that she failed the American people, for the fact that she ran a bad campaign, for the fact that her positions are indefensible, for the fact she supported a genocide, blah, blah, blah. The reason she doesn't have to apologize, because in her mind, imagine it like a narcissistic parent who is willing to tolerate any misfortune that befalls you because it's a consequence of you indignantly not choosing their help over another's. Does that make sense? Like, you've got a shitty mom and a shitty dad, and, you know, the mom says, I'll help you, and you're like, no, I'll go with the dad, and things go poorly because you go with the dad, and is the mom sympathetic? No. She crosses her arms and she tut-tuts you because, you know, ultimately it was your mistake. I apologize for denigrating this argument by reducing it to some Freudian, you know, psychological, oh, it all comes back to the, you know, envy of the hands or whatever bullshit, but I do think it's kind of like that. I think that they're very emotionally immature people. And in that way, I think the Republicans are both better at politics and more knowledgeable about politics. They might be terrible at running the machine. Trump is running the country into the ground, but it doesn't matter. Politics is about politics. Same with Cuomo. He gets heckled and just repeats Zohran Mamdani's name for 3 minutes with the smuggest face ever. They're all like this. If you look for symptoms of this behavior, every legacy Democrat is like this. From Schumer to Jeffries to Cuomo to Buttigieg, who is not himself a legacy Democrat but tries to imitate them, to Kamala Harris, and when he was lucid, at times with Biden, particularly with Israel, you know? You see the same, like, oh, you're challenging me? You really think you know how to do this better than I do? Come on. And then this like distanced, unemotional, retreated smugness, you know? they know better than you, or they think they know better than you, so they feel like they have license to just disengage from it. They think that sincerity is naive.
Okay. After cutting $1 billion
We're on a public sidewalk. Thank you.
We need to vote them the right way after accepting $113,000 from
Okay.
You have a child? Do you have a child? He is not a child. He is a sexual harasser. $60 million trying to cover it up.
This is what Zoran Mandami does. These are his tactics to send hecklers and disruptors because he doesn't want New Yorkers to hear the truth.
I know for a fact
because they're afraid of the truth.
Take money from the Walmart family, the Murdochs, right?
Tell Zoran I said hello.
Fighting for us all the time. Ken Griffin, who owns all the penthouses in Manhattan.
Tell Zoran I said hello.
You tell him you say hello when you lose, right?
Okay. I guess the big difference between the parties that seems to reoccur over and over, and I'm speaking generally, but the Democrats feel entitled to their victory and the Republicans are willing to fight for it. It's not even about how competent your governance is or what you believe in or like what you're even going to do once you're in office. The Democrats feel like by right of being the better option, which they are, they're already like meant to be in office, and it's your responsibility to know that. Whereas the Republicans are aware that this is all a desperate power bid, and they act like it. And that's a general rule. That doesn't apply to like every single candidate, but I think it's a reoccurring tendency. Yeah, and that's a large part of why Dems can't convince voters they feel they're owed allegiance. When was the last time you even saw a mainstream Democrat try to win over voters? I mean that sincerely. I'm actually asking for you to think. Like a mainstream establishment Democrat. When was the last time you saw them engage in a bid to win voters that didn't feel like just a reaffirmation of the party's talking points, existing policy? By a bid, I mean like a really aggressive, look at what Trump does with RFK Jr., for example, or what he does, I guess, every day, because he's so public, he's so aggressive, every day he's making arguments for himself. He's not just saying, we will lower costs for blah, blah, blah. He's making arguments. Now, of course, in his case, his arguments are incoherent. He's lying, but they're still bids for public support. I think Biden with the unions, maybe. I think actually, if anything, Biden undersold how good he was for unions, and it hurt him. I like, because he had no control of the bully pulpit. Like here's a perfect example. I'll give you. Hold on. Okay. What's the name of that fella? Collins up in Maine. That real, rough and ready former soldier, Senate candidate. Graham Plattner, not Collins. Thank you. Graham Plattner, right? Popular. Hit the ground running, super aggressive messaging, very, very popular. Take a look at this lady. Hold on, let me find her. I need to find her, okay? Hold your dang horses. Here we go. Don't worry, folks, okay? You don't want Plattner, do you? Some kind of maverick outsider shaking things up in the Senate? No. Here's a real senatorial candidate.
Folks, do you want Democrats to take back the Senate? Well, I'm Governor Janet Mills, and I'm running to flip Maine's Senate seat blue. Susan Collins has sold out Maine and bowed down to special interests and to Donald Trump. But that ends now. So chip in $5 today, and let's win this together.
The governor for Maine, who is 77 years old, has been picked by Chuck Schumer to be the Democratic candidate for the Senate seat they're fighting for. Or in other words, Graham Plattner, who's got a bunch of energy going, Schumer saw that and said, unacceptable. We need another centrist octogenarian in office. If she ran and won, she would be 85 years old at the end of her first term. She would be the oldest first-term senator in American history. And yeah, I'm not exaggerating about the Schumer thing, by the way. Just in case you thought. In August, Axios reported that Democratic Senate leader Chuck Schumer was actively recruiting Mills to challenge Collins. Later that month, Mills told reporters a final decision to enter the race may come in November. August also saw the entry of Sullivan Harbor Master Graham Plattner running on a progressive populist platform. Plattner received the endorsement of Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and organized labor. In October, Sanders publicly discouraged Mills from challenging Plattner, who'd raised over $3.2 million in small donors since his campaign launch. On October 7th, Axios reported Mills was planning to enter the race before the end of the month, and 3 days later, the same outlet reported she would formally enter on October 14th, citing a leaked campaign document. The same day, an Act Blue page was launched, and a fundraising video was posted to Twitter, but both were deleted. This was deleted after it was posted. So in other words, Chuck Schumer, who is demonic beyond all words and probably stacks up there with the worst of the Republicans, saw a progressive populist candidate challenging the Republican in the Maine Senate seat and said, no, and pitched her after trying to get her to enter the race. And it's been a shit show, of course, because she probably doesn't actually want to run, you know? I mean, maybe she does a little bit, but it wouldn't be the first time Schumer's chucked in an opponent to, you know, oppose a local progressive candidate. Thanks. I'm glad you appreciated that. You don't hate the Dems enough. Very entitled people. Very entitled. And an immense threat to our country, you know? They basically handed our country over to the Republicans on a silver platter. They're collaborationists. Evil, evil people. This tweet hits it on the head. The Democrats actually find their answer to the how do we reconnect with young men question about once every 6 months, but it's never a guy who will take a donation from Lockheed Martin, so they consider the question unanswerable. Yep. Plattner outperforms Mills by 21 points among Trump voters, 16 on independents, 14 points among conservatives, 13 points among gun households, 13 among 18 to 44, 13 among Republican, 10 points in deeply rural North and West Maine. So the only groups that favor Mills over Plattner are people who voted for Kamala Harris in 2024 and people who are registered Democrat. Oh, and people who are, quote, ideology liberal by -2. And keep in mind that Mills is benefiting from an overwhelming amount of name recognition by virtue of being the governor. So this is like the Mamdani Cuomo thing again. In fact, Schumer's literally doing the exact same trick twice. So even with the name recognition of governorship, Mills is being outperformed basically across the board by Collins. So basically Schumer's doing everything in his power to stop Dems from moving even remotely left. Yeah, that's his job. So is Plattner out? No. All right. I'm so out of it today, man. So out of it. Plattner leading with women against Mills. By how much? Let me see. Gee, yeah, by 2 points. That's crazy. All right. I am super fucking out of it today. Sorry. I actually have to go really soon. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm talking to Benjamin over PV shit. So you can blame him for me not reading donos. Ordinarily, I'd read donos every day. I would never skip a day of reading donos. But in this case, unfortunately, I have no choice. So really, again, my hands are tied here. Talk on stream? No, I don't think so. Everyone take care. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm sorry about my really bad sleep schedule. I'll read all the donations tomorrow. I'm sorry. My sleep has been really bad. It's been throwing me off. I would love to blame anything but myself, but in this case, it's mostly Hades too. It's mostly Hades too, folks. I'm very sorry. It's a good game, and I'm enjoying it, and it feels good to play. Oh, and go phone bank for Mamdani. It's active right now. Yeah, and also do that something type shit. I'll see you guys soon. I'm very sorry. I love you. Bye-bye.